we've had this conversation before with a lady called Ellie, who I know helped you with your diagnosis with your condition. This was her in 2014, I think it was, when she came in to discuss it. You had no idea, much like her, no idea what this was. When do you think you were first aware of it?
As a child, I used to suffer from urinary tract infections. I've got a slightly wonky kidney which was causing issues there. So my mum was noticing sort of a fishy odour even back then, but we put it down to that. But as sort of time's gone on and now I've got my diagnosis, there's so many things that I'm thinking now,
was it to do with that? Yeah.
So I can't really say definitely there was a time when I thought
it was that moment, but really tough for you. I mean, kids can be cruel at school at the best of times. Yeah. So if you've got something like this, was school tough?
I wasn't the sort of kid that really fitted in anyway. If I had a chance to get up on stage and do something daft just to make other people laugh, that was me.
Right, OK.
And I was just really sort of anxious. Because it did crop up quite a bit at school.
And what did people say to you?
It was questions like, oh, you smell of fish today, Kel. And it's like, oh, I've had fish paste sandwiches for my lunch.
You make it up to cover it. Yeah.
And it was just, oh, sort of, oh, have you been eating onions? And I'm like, no.
Oh, gosh.
What about as you got older, sort of teenage years, that sort of thing?
As I sort of moved on to sixth form college and at university, it didn't really cause that much of a problem. I think I was a happier individual in myself.
Stress can help, can cause a little bit, can't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it can make it just a little worse.
The more stress you're under, whether it be physical or mental, it can actually really exacerbate it. It can make it a lot worse.
And we should point out at this point that this is nothing to do with personal hygiene in any case whatsoever.
No.
In fact, that makes it worse, because you did go through phases of, excessive showering.
Oh, ridiculous amounts of showering. And I think one of the problems was I was using a very strong body wash with eucalyptus and mint in it, and I'm not sure you can imagine combining that smell with onions and fish, and I can imagine it was quite uncomfortable for my colleagues at work.
Well,
it's in close quarters.
It's not there every day, and it is genetic. And so it's the way your body copes with proteins and enzymes and breaks things down.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing you can do about it. And you mentioned work. They've been really helpful, haven't they? I think one of the papers got it wrong and said because you're a radiographer in Oldham at the hospital.
Yeah.
And one of the papers said that you've been moved to the nights, but that's not the case.
I made the decision to go on to nights because at the time, it was before my diagnosis, and I was really uncomfortable because I felt like I was making other people uncomfortable. Nobody turned around to me and said, you must go on nights, you've got to go and do this, that or the other. That was never said. It was a decision I made to make me happier.
And so, Michael, what's it like for you? Because you two met online originally, and so you started chatting online, met up for a first date. Did you notice it to begin with? What was that like in the day?
I honestly didn't notice it to begin with, no. It came as a bit of a surprise to me, you know. When we first started seeing each other, I sort of caught a little bit of a whiff of it, but it was more sort of, it didn't seem strange to me at all.
Right,
yeah,
OK.
It sort of...
And it must be painful for you, sort of, when she gets upset or comes home from work or somebody said something, or just those moments. It must be difficult for you because you love her so much to see her going through that pain.
It is very difficult, yeah. It makes me not angry, that's a bit too strong a word, but it does upset me a little bit, yeah.
Well, people immediately jump to conclusions, they don't understand.
Yeah.
And I suppose, really, because there are so few people in the world with this, it's not something that we see or hear of very often. And as I said, it was actually Ellie James on April the 8th in 2014. She came on this show as an article that was written off the back of that interview that made you think, oh, my goodness me, this could very well be what I have.
Yeah, definitely. There was several other things as well on the internet, and the more I researched about it, the more I thought, well, it's not just a fishy odour, it can be various other odours, and it isn't all the time. There are some people it does affect them 24/7, and that must be an absolute nightmare for them. I'm lucky in the sense that, as far as I know, it doesn't affect me 24/7. But it did make getting the diagnosis that little bit more complicated.
And you can't cure it, but you can control it slightly when it comes to foods. There are certain foods that will trigger it more.
Yeah. Anything that's high in a chemical called choline. But I was even reading up on that recently, and that's not always a surefire thing. You could cut the majority of choline out of your diet and still produce the smell, and it's a really hard diet. I tried doing it for a week to cut pretty much everything out, and I was, you know, you get to 36 and you've developed your eating habits by that point, and it's hard.
Well,
thank you for
by coming here and talking about it once more, more people know about it. You might help someone else the way Ellie did you.
Thank
you, guys.
Absolutely amazed by the amount of response that I've had. It's been awesome.
Thank you both. Thank you very much.
But first, 2 years ago, Deirdre sat on our sofa to reveal that after experiencing symptoms, doctors discovered a cluster of malignant cells in her right breast.
So Deirdre underwent successful treatment for breast cancer, but her recent annual checkout revealed early signs that, sadly, it has returned.
Never one to shy away from difficult conversations, ever, actually, Deirdre.
Well, it's my job in a way, isn't it? That's what I do, is help people have difficult conversations. So if I can't have my own, it'd be a poor show.
But it is a truly amazing thing that you're sitting here now and we're going to talk about it. It really is. Deirdre's with us now, as well as Dr. Nigat, who's joining us this morning. Good morning. So what happened, Deirdre?
So because I had breast cancer 2 years ago, I now get an annual mammogram, and totally to my surprise, the mammogram showed up that I've got, it's a different breast, it's the left breast this time.
Yeah.
And there was it's tiny, but malignant cancer in there. So unfortunately, I mean, I have got to have a lumpectomy and followed by radiotherapy. But I mean, I feel lucky, you know, it's been caught early. The treatment's happening very rapidly. I should have surgery on October the 11th, which is like in no time. Wow. And this is all on the NHS, so I just think I am so lucky. It just could be so much worse.
Yeah. When you went along, had you had any symptoms, Deirdre? Nothing like the first time around?
No, nothing. Well, and also, to be honest, I think the symptoms I had the first time around, I think they were a coincidence. They weren't actually a symptom of the cancer itself, as it turned out. But it happened that efficient GP practice put me on the cancer pathway, so I got very rapid check and treatment that time.
So you haven't felt run down, you haven't felt any different at all?
I haven't felt run down, I haven't felt tired, I haven't had any discomfort.
Aches and pains.
If I did a self-check, I couldn't feel anything because it's so tiny, there's nothing to feel. So it's purely down to having the mammogram that showed it up. And then you get referred back, and I had an ultrasound and a biopsy, which then revealed that it was actually a cancer.
And what went through your mind when that diagnosis happened?
Well, this time, to be honest, shock.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I felt fine.
Yeah.
And I was just so taken aback. I just wasn't expecting it at all. And I suppose I just want to bring this in early, because my big point about this, why I really want to talk about it, is that on the NHS system, I'm not sort of criticising it, breast check, mammograms stop, the call for mammogram stops when you're 70. The last one you get is when you're 70. I happen to have been in a cohort of women that got missed. There was a big accident happened that year, and we didn't get called. So I hadn't had, when I got last time, you know, I hadn't had a mammogram since I was 67, so 10 years had gone by. And I hadn't given it a thought. I hadn't thought, oh, no one's called me for a mammogram. Oh, I ought to go. And I didn't know anything about it, really. But what I now know is that if you're over 70, you can request a mammogram on the NHS, and you should get one every 3 years. And I just want to say to everyone out there, please, if you're a woman over 70, request your mammogram, you know, because the reason why I've had quite an easy time, and I'm just having a lumpectomy last time and this time, because it was caught so early. You know, if it's missed for, you know, years, you're so much more likely to have a mastectomy or worse.
So the treatment you will have for this lumpectomy is similar to what you've had?
It's same as I had before, so it's just, I mean, it was same surgeon as it happens. It was just a tiny little thing, you know, so they take it out, followed by radiotherapy, which is completely painless and easy. And that is just so brilliant. And compared with what happens if it's become more advanced, it's transformative.
Dr. Nigat, time really is of the essence here, isn't it?
Yeah.
What would you recommend to people?
I was actually saying to Deirdre backstage, we had a kiss and a cuddle this morning. I was saying 2 years ago, I sat on the sofa when you first came up with the very early signs. And then 2 years later, we've come back and it's in the other breast. And actually, this is well within what we would see in the remit of someone who's had cancer. And then they will find that it's in the other and the boob as well, or sometimes in the same boobs. We do have two breasts. And men, there's a small proportion of men that also get breast cancer. So I would say to anybody watching, self-checking is where it starts. So regardless of who you are, what gender, lifelong, once a month. If it's women, if you're still having your periods, then I would say a week after you've had your bleed, having a good feel around. But as Deirdre has just said, that actually she didn't pick anything up. And so that's why going to your mammogram appointments is so great. So the screening programme on the NHS starts at the age of 50 and you get invited every 3 years. But it does stop at 70. But you are absolutely entitled to request that after the age of 70, that you still get called every 3 years. And that's simply making a phone call to your local breast screening clinic. And the statistics are amazing. Through breast screening, so I looked at the data from Cancer Research UK, and we found that in 2021, 2022, we don't have the figures for 2023, 2024 fully yet, but 11,000 women were picked up with breast cancer who had no symptoms. So they didn't even feel a breast lump.
Nothing at all.
So 11,000 women's lives were saved. And actually, that could be very, very early. So time is of the essence, picking it up, going for your screening. And we know that actually it's not the best test for younger women, but women over 50, it is as good as we're going to get at the moment. And there's always constantly research and data. And 5-year survival is nearly 99, 100% post-cancer diagnosis. So women are now outliving their diagnosis of breast cancer,
which is great.
Great.
Why does it stop at 70?
There's lots of different factors. It's because the idea is that the estrogen that affects our cells, well, the effect is lessened as we get older.
Right.
That's not the case for everybody because we make estrogen through our adipose or fat tissue, and our brain constantly makes it as well when we're postmenopausal. And also the idea is that there was a cost implication to it, we have to say that, and demand on services. And actually we found that the rates of cancer were decreasing in women over the age of 70. So it's multifactorial, but those are some of the sort of key highlights.
But
I think also as an individual, I just want to say, yes, I mean, I understand about the economics of the NHS. As an individual, get your check.
Yes.
And make that
it's your health.
And actually, we do have more information. We've got information about how to check yourself. You can head out to This Morning app where Dr. Sarah has a video that tells you all you need to know.
Deirdre, obviously, we're here and we're with you every step of this way. I wonder how your family were when they found out, because it's a terrifying time from the outside. You're amazingly positive, and you always have been, but it's scary, right?
Yeah, I think it was a shock to us all, because when I went for the initial check and even had the biopsy, they were so confident that there was nothing there because it's so tiny. So it was a shock for me, and obviously it was a shock for them for me to suddenly have to say, well, I'm sorry, folks, it turns out I have actually got cancer. But, I've got 2 daughters who are just great and, they're just dropping everything to be supportive and drive me to hospital and things like that. I am known as a difficult person to help.
We've probably got a phone line for that, Deirdre.
So initially I was saying to my daughter who's taking a day's compassionate leave in order to drive me to hospital, and I was saying, no, it'll be fine, I can get there on the train and She's saying, do you actually want to be alone? Well, no. Well,
shut up then, listen, I'm coming.
Just let me come and help,
Yeah.
They're great. And I think, like me, I think it helps them to actually be involved, do something, is great. So, no, the family are just wonderful.
Well, thank you.
And I'm lucky that I've got family to be supportive, because I really feel for people who have to go through this sort of thing really
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.
It is an extraordinary story. So it's 1978. You're on holiday in Cornwall. You've got your parents there and your 3 brothers. So what do you remember of that day?
Well, it all starts with a memory of that day, a specific memory of running away from where everyone else was on the main beach and going round to a small cove. And the 2 of us were just going to have one last swim. We'd even asked permission to have a last swim. So we ran around to this cove, and we went there deliberately because the waves were bigger and therefore more fun. We're just going to jump in the waves, and we went into the water. And what I have is this memory which has stayed with me is the first thing that happened is the sand, the undertow. It's very difficult to describe what it's like if you've only experienced it standing in the shallows and just feeling the sand dragging back out. But here we were almost out of our depth, and then it was such a powerful sensation of the sand going out from beneath your feet that it's entirely discomforting. It's as if the world has gone wrong because you're trying to walk in one direction, then you look up and you're actually a metre in the other direction.
Were you strong swimmers?
We were not great swimmers.
No.
We were there to jump the waves. We weren't there to swim.
And of course you were very young. I mean, you were only 11 yourself, and he was 9, and you noticed he was behind you and he was being dragged out further and further. And in this horrible tragedy of the story was that you couldn't get to him safely. There was no way that you could get to him.
Well, this is part of where the memory becomes slightly unclear, as I remember realising that the only way to get back in would be to swim. Is that your natural instinct is to put your foot down, but every time you put your foot down, you actually end up further out. So I remember shouting to him, swim, you have to swim. But by that stage, somehow he was further out than me. And I remember him desperately trying to doggy paddle and just his head above the water and his lips clamped, closed, just panicking. We both had this reaction. We knew we were in danger. And I realised that I was going to be in the same state as him very, very soon. And I made a conscious decision, which I remember absolutely clearly, that I had to get back in or I would die. Yeah. And the problem with that was that I therefore had to leave him in the water. Which
had the terrible consequences. You got back, the lifeboats called, and sadly he drowned. His body was later found. When did your parents tell you that what had happened, and that in fact that were you gathered round the table and said, "I'm so sorry, but you know we don't have your brother anymore"?
Well, we would have known when they came back from the hospital, which had been later on that afternoon. I found out later on when I was researching what happened on the day, that's why it's the day that went missing, because that was the only thing I could remember, my memory in the water. And I wanted to know what had happened in the day. So one of the things I found was his death certificate, and it says on the death certificate, dead on arrival at Bude Hospital. And then my parents would have come back towards the end of the afternoon and told us that he was dead. So that's when we found out. But I've discovered all these things later on, and in the book, it's that journey of discovery as well to find out what actually happened.
But you didn't, because then the family, if you go back, you've got to go back. You leave Cornwall, you go back for the funeral, which the children weren't allowed to go to, and then you go back to Cornwall, and because there was a week left of the holiday, go back and continue the holiday. But that was it. Never discussed again.
Well, when this week we went back to the place where we'd been on holiday. I didn't know about that. I'd completely blanked that out of my mind, as my brothers had as well. Yeah. They didn't know this existed. So it was only when I started talking to my mum, quite recently when I was writing the book, that she said we'd done this. It was a huge shock to us that we'd done this. It seems like a very strange thing to do. But I think it was, in some ways, it was very defiant of them. They wanted to say, look, life has to go on. And I think they had good intentions. And the intention was to say, it was almost like getting back on the horse. So
it was the only way they thought to survive it, I guess. And it was your kind of dad that was sort of the ringleader of this in a way, because it was his grief, his way of coping on it, and then that affected the rest of the family. His birthdays were never discussed. The anniversary of his death was never talked about. You never visited the gravestone. And it was when your father passed away, sadly, that then you felt able to revisit all of this. Was your mum finally relieved to be able to talk about it?
I think she was very relieved, yes. I'm sure the reason I found out the date, because I blocked out the actual date, my mum hadn't forgotten the date. She'd just been suffering in silence all that time. And I think it was a huge relief for her to talk about it. But his birthday, for example, I'd forgotten that. My brothers, I think, had forgotten the date. I only found out the date of his birthday from the death certificate. So you can see how extreme this had been. But I don't think it was uncommon at that time to try and block out grief in this way. It was thought to be the best way to move on.
Writing this and discussing it openly, do you feel like it's helped you deal with your grief better, or were you actually doing all right before?
I think it has definitely helped me deal with it, because the problem with moving on is if you don't accept that there are some strong emotions to process, is that they just wait for you, and they'll wait for you. And I think at some stage you have to confront it.
Which has changed the relationship with your children, hasn't it? I mean, you are much more open. You'll discuss things more than you would have done with your family.
I certainly try to, but I think the general atmosphere has changed about emotion.
Yes.
We are more we have a
touch.
vocabulary for emotion as well, which I don't think we had. This is 1978 when this happened. I think this was it was just an extreme case of
Stiff upper lip.
pulling yourself together,
Yeah.
get on with it. Yeah. And that's something that we now don't admire as much as we did then. But in some ways, that would have been admired, I think, at the
Yeah,
time.
no, you're quite right. This is the story, the day that went missing, a family story. Richard Beard, and thank you very much for coming in and talking about it today. Thank you.
We've conducted an experiment. For instance, we took your phone away from you yesterday, and you haven't got it back yet. What was that like?
I thought it would be really difficult, and I thought I'd really, really miss it. But what was really interesting was it was really quite refreshing not having it.
Seriously?
It was.
Are you just trying to put on a good front before people throw eggs at you or something?
Maybe. What I found was it was times when I was waiting for things where I reached for my phone. So I was standing in a queue in the shop and it was a long queue and I automatically reached for my phone. The advert breaks during the television yesterday, every single ad break without fail, I went like that to reach for my phone. But the bits in between, I didn't actually miss it. Apart from the practical use, we couldn't work out how to find an alarm clock for me to wake me up to get here this morning.
But you always use your phone.
I use my phone, so we used my son's Darth Vader clock.
And that was lovely this morning.
I was so scared it wouldn't go off because I trusted my phone more than his clock. So it was practical things. I went to pick up some wallpaper yesterday and I didn't have proof of purchase because I didn't have my phone on me.
OK. Well, interesting. Emma, what Kate is saying here is that her phone is more than a phone. I mean, some people just use it as a phone, but it's her whole life. She has apps on it, she's got her alarm clock, she uses it in so many different ways.
And you run your own business, so there's business emails.
And it's a business phone as well.
Yeah.
Is she excused, Emma?
Well, you know, at the end of the day, technology is part and parcel of our world, and we have to use it for so many different purposes now. And having a phone, like you noted, is an interface now. It's not actually just a place for communication. It's a place for storage. It's a place for payments. It's a place for your accounts and so on and so forth. So you can understand that people feel connected. I think the problem that we have, though, is what's just been very eloquently described, which is that habitual need to keep checking, so that addictive cycle. And what we're seeing more and more with people and their phones is they're constantly on high alert. So if you imagine the fact that you're always expecting something to come through, you're always feeling the need to check, you're always believing you need to respond to a text message, that essentially means that your cortisol level, the stress hormone, is going to be flooding your brain constantly. And that's really bad for us. So what you do in life to regain composure is what you've just experimented with, which is digital detox. And actually there's a real need for it, not just on a psychological level, but on a physiological and biological level as well.
OK, well, let's talk about your children, Kate, because, you know, you made an admission which was very brave of you to do, because I think most of us are probably slightly addicted to our phones, but you admitted that, you know, 15 minutes at any given time, every 15 minutes you feel the need to look at your phone. Now, whether that was in the middle of your children's swimming gala, whether you were helping them with their homework, you felt that you would break away from that. So it's not that you love your phone more than your children, but you found it hard to not check your phone while you're with them. What effect do you think that was having on them?
Well, I think I need to take a step back because I used to have a full-time job working 60 hours a week and I never saw my kids. I used to get home to read them a story and I gave that up to run my own business so that I could be there. I could go to the swimming galas, I could go to assemblies and things like that. But the compromise is there are times when I have to be at home working, checking my emails. And those times, I think my children are actually fine with most of the time because Mummy is working. Mummy has to work. Mummy came to pick me up from school, brought them home, gave them their tea, But actually, that phone call that's just come through...
Well said, Kate. No, I think this is yet another way of making parents feel inadequate and feel guilty. And you're using downtime. And you know what? The first people who would ditch you if they had a phone in their hand would be children. Children worse than any... There's one of my children I'll not name who says, Dad, can we watch this movie? Dad, can we watch this football or whatever? And I say, yeah, even if I don't want to. So you sit down and you look over and it's... Bum, 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 bum. And I thought we were watching this, and they say they are watching it. They're doing 2 things at once, or 3 things at once.
But do you think that is learnt behaviour? So do you worry that the kids see you doing that? How do you then say to them, right, put your phones down? Do you have a rule at home? Or...
We do. We have no phones at the dining table, for example. My children... Interestingly, they have a rule, which is they have to do a certain amount of task before they use their technology. So they have to have creative time, have to do outdoor time. So we do try and set that. But it is interesting because they probably do mirror our behaviours. So we do need to take responsibility. But and I say we, because obviously this has whole been painted out as working mothers, but there are working fathers that are on their phone a lot as well. We're all on our phone a lot. So we need to sort of take some responsibility with that. And I'm trying. But when you run a business, the next paycheck depends on getting, answering that call.
And is that justification, Emma? Is that enough? I mean, that's how Kate's reconciling all of this. It sounds good to me, or is she just fooling herself?
No, I mean, I think Kate gives a perfect explanation to her children as to why she can't always be present. I think that's very different from what we're seeing, which is trends of mums and dads potentially not necessarily being engaged in anything productive, but still ignoring their children. I think that does give a very powerful message to our children, which is you're secondary. But in Kate's case, absolutely. She's showing her children that she can be a really productive member of society, run her own business, and still make time to go to galas. I think that's balance. I also think one of the things that we've got to think about is why are we so connected? And sometimes actually for mums out there, particularly mums, it can be quite isolating having children. And sometimes we're actually using the phone as a prop to deal with our confidence issues and our connection issues. So sometimes it's about looking beneath our behaviours and thinking, OK, well, what can I do that maybe will manifest itself in a slightly better position for me in my social life? But as far as Kate goes, well done on managing all of those things at the same time.
Whenever we speak about organ donation, at one side of the story there's joy and life, and the other side of the story there's tragedy and loss. And sadly for you, that was your part of this. And Jemima, your daughter, this is the 10th of March 2012, and she had a pain in her head and collapsed. And what was it? What did it turn out to be?
It was a giant brain aneurysm.
Okay.
So it was this huge bubble of blood that formed, if you like, and it had burst. And it had destroyed most of the left side of her brain. So she was looked after amazingly well and rushed off for emergency treatment, and obviously the consultants thought there was hope. They all, they do the best job they can, and there's always hope. But unfortunately, she never ever came round, and
you sadly lost her.
So at what point had you before that terrible day, had you discussed organ donation as a family?
We had. It was one of those random conversations. Something had happened. A sort of friend of the family had been in a similar situation, wanted to donate and couldn't for some reason, and we were sort of talking about it and how it's quite restrictive sometimes because you have to die in certain conditions so that your organs can be used. And we're just sort of talking about it in general. And of course, both our girls were quite young and they'd never heard of anything like this before. It was a horrible idea, taking something out of somebody and putting it in somebody else. And but after the initial sort of shock, and when we discussed it, and Jemima being a little bit older said, "Oh no, I'd do that."
So you knew her wishes, which is extraordinary, really, because like you said, nobody ever talks about this sort of thing. So it's incredible that you did. When the time came, however, and that decision was then put in place, how did that feel? How did that feel for you and your partner?
Well, because my husband had anticipated that this was going to be discussed, because she was obviously not going to recover, he did talk to me about it privately and say, they're going to approach us about organ donation, we need to talk about it and decide what we're doing. So it wasn't a shock, but it still seems very wrong, you know, because she was still sort of ostensibly breathing and...
And the parent, you're protecting her.
Yes,
as well.
and you know, her heart was beating and you think, I can't be... It seems terribly wrong.
No, that must have been...
But knowing that she wasn't going to recover, you know, you do have to think about it, and knowing how she would feel, we knew we could say yes. And the organ donation team are incredibly sensitive, and they take you through each stage carefully. You can discuss each item individually. And you're allowed to stipulate what happens if in the event it's not used, what you want to happen to that organ. So it all felt very easy because they make it feel, you know, straightforward, but at the same time, at the back of your head, you're saying, this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, of course, the pain of it all, absolutely.
But it did happen, and what an incredible legacy she's left behind.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't realise that 2.6 apparently is the average number of recipients for each donation. I thought that seemed quite low, but I didn't know. So to hear that she was a record holder for the number of recipients was quite extraordinary. We thought that was normal.
Highest number on record.
Yeah.
Her heart went to a 5-year-old boy. 14-year-old was given her lungs. Her liver was split between 2 boys aged 10 months and 5. 2 people aged 19 and 24 received her kidneys. 40-year-old man was given her pancreas, and small bowel has changed the life of a 3-year-old boy. Eye tissue was used to restore the eyesight of 3 people. And it is extraordinary to read what she's done.
It is, and it's lovely to think that, you know, she is going on, you know, even though she obviously won't have children, but you sort of feel there's bits of her that will continue in a different way, and it's lovely.
And it seems so absurd that we haven't got to the point where it is an opt-out system rather than the opt-in system that we've got now, because I suppose, really, the opting out means that it takes that decision away at the worst possible time of your life.
It also means we're all now going to have to start talking about it a lot more. You know, so that people do know your wishes. Because I think even with the opt-out, even if you've said yes, I think close relatives will still be able to say no if they feel it's wrong.
Right.
So I think, you know, we still need to, particularly for parents, I think we'll have that.
Still work to be done.
Yeah, still need to talk about it. It still needs to be addressed, and death in general should be discussed.
Well, you said that's the thing you regret the most, is actually
yes,
not having
I know.
those
It's just not having that conversation. And
what would you have said though? What would you?
I don't know. It's just because she had these little kind of funny premonitions, and I could sense the fear because there were little things she said, and later on when we found her diaries, we read them. You know, that she didn't feel she's ever going to grow up. There were these things about the age and number 13, and because that was her age. I felt very sort of cold every time. You know, you kind of your heart stops because you sort of think, I can't acknowledge this or talk about this. Let's sweep it under the carpet and talk about happy things. But I think if I had, for her, it would have been reassuring, and it wouldn't have been a frightening thing.
Laura, you believe that police forces up and down the land are at breaking point.
Yes, I do, and very much so. I wouldn't have come out like this if I didn't think that was the case.
I mean, that's what I suppose people are thinking. You know, most of you are handing in your resignation, you send a letter or you go to HR. Why did you decide to do it so publicly?
Well, I went in and had a meeting with my sergeant, and I brought my letter in there with the intention of giving it to Sean Sawyer, hoping it'd be passed on my behalf.
Who's the chief constable?
Chief constable, yes. And I spoke to my sergeant, and we had a couple of phone calls with HR, and I very much was like, I asked him, do you think he's actually going to get this? And he just said, no, I don't think he is. And then, so if I were you, I'd send it to him personally. And so that night I came back, and I thought, right, now I've made it official and handed my resignation letter in. I thought I'll tell my colleagues and my friends, you know, what are my reasons for doing it. And because I wanted to explain that I've not abandoned them, but I had no choice. It was making me so poorly, and it was just basically, I just poured my heart out to them to say thank you ever so much, and I've still got your back even though I'm not on the front line with you, really. And then with the influx, the amount of people, I can't get over how many people saying, good on you, can't believe you've done it. I wish I was in the circumstances that you were.
And this is, you say that, you know, when you resigned from a job, there was no kind of exit interview, and you felt it was important that the Chief Constable knew why, your reasons why.
There was no
you felt
exit
so
interview. It was frozen proofs in this day and age, and I think a lot of people, whether they're a teacher, whether they're a doctor, whether they're a member of the armed forces, whatever your job is, people feel increasingly undervalued. There was no exit interview because you're not valued. End of story.
Very much so. When your sergeant says to you, well, it's OK, you can go. You're invited in to go and do a questionnaire. Come on the force system in your own time. Come in, fill in the questionnaire on the computer. What was good and what was bad.
Well, look, if they haven't got enough staff to investigate crimes, they ain't got enough staff to read why you have resigned from the force. So instead, what we'll get are weasel words from weasel politicians who will do absolutely nothing about this. And we've got the budget next week. And do you know how high I think policing will feature in the budget? Not at all.
No.
Not at all. Because social services, not that it shouldn't, but social services will feature in the budget, and they need money, and they're not going to give it to doctors, and they're not going to give it to prison officers or police officers. So what is going to happen to the country if politicians don't wake up to this?
It's going to be as bad as what you think it's going to be. We're in a state now where things are so uneasy with immigration, etc., and everybody worried about what's going on. How can we just need to look after the individuals that are in this country, it doesn't matter whatever, and we're not going to be able to do that. So you need to look after the people that need to look after the country, basically.
You say the job made you so ill. You ended up with depression, anxiety. What was it? Was it one particular thing or an accumulation of things?
It was an accumulation of things. I just think it's only so many times you can go, what's happening about this? Are we going to have more staff? I never knew how many people were going to be on. It could be down to 2, we could have 4. But even, I still don't understand how 4 to 5 people covering the whole area of mid-Devon is acceptable. If you ask a member of the public, how many people, police officers, do you think are covering your area right now? And it's always in excess of like 30, 40, and that's them being generous.
And sometimes it was 2.
And it was 2. Sometimes.
Do you know, people wonder why the world is going the way it is. And if you continue to get politicians who ignore things, for instance, they will not spend money on prisons.
We desperately need prisons.
But people would pay extra for prisons. People, if you put them in their income tax and said, will you pay a bit of extra? And they'd say, yeah, we'll do that. Would you pay extra for police? Yeah. Your fire service? Yeah. Whatever. Your armed forces. Ellie Farrell says the police's hands are tied. They have no voice, unlike other public services who have the right to strike and be heard. It is so wrong. Do you think if officers could, they would strike over this?
Yes. Wow, yes, definitely. But that conversation is had all the time. Don't forget that what I will say is that what the police service, the ambulance service, including the prison service, where there are so many people that are keeping the wheel on. So you are still getting a good service. We are the people out there that I know are fantastic, and they're doing the job fantastically. But
do you think they're being exploited somewhat though? Because it's a vocation. I mean, for you said you'd always wanted to be a police officer. Your father was a police officer. You joined at 19. So do you think they take advantage of people like you, knowing that, you know, it's very hard for people to walk away from a vocational job?
Very, very much so. And it's a really good wage down in the southwest as well. So we hold on. They get you like that. And the pension, the way we've been treated with the pension and the cuts is just disgusting. But like you said, we can't strike. But at the same time, when you're going out there and you're going to keep the wheel on because it's people's lives in danger. You don't know, and they definitely exploit that. That's my main bugbear, how they just kind of go, we've got to make it work. And we do, because you're not going to go and see a member of the public or your colleagues or anybody getting hurt because somebody wouldn't give you many police officers.
Was your life ever in danger, do you think, because of lack of staff? You know,
I think any day you go out dressed in a uniform, your life is in danger.
Yeah, even down to the fact that you've got, like, say, for example, because you're blue lighting from one side of the patch to the other, so 35 minutes sometimes. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, when you're the only, you and one other are on, and you're blue lighting here, there, and everywhere. Not only in danger because of the job and circumstances, you're absolutely physically drained.
I just think it's really, really hard to imagine what it's like living in the company of somebody so intensely affected by this.
Yes, I think it's very often we look at the poor person that's the victim of this, but very often for the family, you're treading on eggshells throughout the whole time. How will Sharon react to this? What's going to happen now? Can we go out? I mean, can we go out for the day? And it's just all of those things, And I think from a relationship point of view, it puts huge pressures on the whole family.
I mean,
on your marriage.
On the marriage, yes.
Fair to say it's hell.
It's a living hell, actually, when those pressures are on you. And in our situation, I was the trusted one. My wife was not the trusted one, and that also affected our relationship.
And why was
as well.
that, Seren? Why did you turn to your dad more than mum?
I think certain people understand OCD better than others, and I think it just really clicked with you, didn't it, Dad? Whereas I think Mum found it a bit more difficult to understand. So because I didn't really have to speak or even say anything, and Dad would know exactly what it was that was bothering me, so it became him that became really involved in all of my rituals.
You're 23 now. You were 18 when you were diagnosed, but how long do you think you were suffering with OCD?
Well, I think when I was about 7, I remember it used to take us ages to leave the house. I used to jump in and out of the doorways. I've had varying different types of OCD. And I was so worried that my parents would die if I didn't go in and out this doorway that I felt that I was responsible for keeping them alive.
And did you tell them that at the time?
Eventually it came out, but that was a huge responsibility for a 7-year-old to bear on their shoulders. And then when I think I spoke to you about it, you explained to me that that isn't how it works and I don't need to do those things in order to keep them safe. So that was a real turning point when I was younger, and then it got a lot worse when I became 18.
Let me ask you this. This is a condition which has a spectrum, right? And there are people on different parts of that spectrum. But what is obvious to me over the course of a number of years talking about this is that people on that spectrum are often not very united. They don't see themselves as the same. What way would you like OCD talked about or referred to?
Well, I think yes, there is a spectrum. I think a lot of people have tendencies and personality traits where they like things to be a certain way or they have to order things in a certain way and that makes them feel happy. But I think that's a preference as opposed to a demand. So when you've got severe OCD, you absolutely have to do it. Otherwise, the world is going to cave in.
This man beside you, he strikes me as more than a daddy, that he's also a teacher and a mentor and someone who explains things. And he was explaining things to me there, and you were talking about having a preference to do something, wanting something done on a certain order. And Dennis, you said, for instance, if you go to the petrol station, a lot of people have this situation. Explain to us what you were talking about there.
Well, so we were talking about this. If you perhaps trying to put fuel in, you think, well, I've gone over £10 or whatever else it is, and you're at £10.50, well, I'll go up to £11, the next even number. Well, actually, what's the consequences of you stopping at £10.53? Well, and that's the process that we went through with Sarah. And so what happens? So if you do this, so what's the worst that could happen? And then you go through the whole sort of process. Well, so if you did that, so what would happen? And then nothing happens. And isn't the whole theory blown out of the water?
It is to us because it's logic, isn't it? But when you said it's so severe, you said there that we saw you checking everything. There's also one of the types of OCD is contamination. So we saw you there washing your hands, washing your hands, washing your hands. So everything is about cleanliness. What is it about cleanliness? What do you think will happen if you don't wash your hands or you don't keep everything spotlessly clean?
I think there's a concept of magical thinking, which is where if I touch the sofa, which I think might be unclean, and then I touch my trousers, I take my trousers off, they go in my laundry basket, everything in my laundry basket is then dirty. Then I brush past the laundry basket and then that's on that, and I sit on my sofa at home and it just goes on and on and on until everything in your world is suddenly dirty. And I think then you have a clean world and a dirty world, and it's about protecting those two things.
And is that what you refer to, now that you've got your husband, you've got the man of your dreams, but you also have to have what is termed your clean space. How do you reconcile the both?
Well, he's very good in a sense that he doesn't enable my OCD. He understands that that's not a good way to live and that having a clean space is essentially what's going to perpetuate my illness and it's going to keep me thinking that I need to do it. So he is very respectful. He's always asked, oh, can I just sit here, or could we do that, or I'm just going to go and do this. And he checks, bless him, he checks through everything with me to make sure that we can manage it. But he's so good and so encouraging and not enabling. He doesn't help me do my rituals.
And Sarah, finally, what is your message to anyone else watching who either suspects they've got this or who clinically knows that they have this?
I think for anyone who suspects they've got it, definitely go to your GP. If you've got someone you trust, like my dad or your partner, that can go with you, that's really helpful because they can explain it to them as well. And anyone that does have it, just keep going. You can do it, but you've got to go towards the fear and not away from it. You've got to face it
You have to
head on.
confront it, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you've had therapy to do that, which I know you said, you know, that is something you would go back to if you felt you needed.
Absolutely. I think there's different things in life, you know, it goes up and it goes down. And at the moment, I'm looking at maybe going to have more therapy to tackle the things that I'm facing at the moment.
We would like you to meet 9-year-old Leland Wicks, who was born with Treacher-Collins syndrome, a condition which features in the new Hollywood movie Wonder, starring Julia Roberts and Owen Wilson.
Well, just like the main character, Leland also suffers cruel taunts at the hands of school bullies for the way he looks. Well, Leland joins us now, along with his dad, Andy. He was also born with the same condition, and his mum, Samantha. Welcome to all of you. It's lovely to have you here today. So tell me, first of all, Andy, what is the syndrome? Treacher-Collins?
Treacher-Collins syndrome. It's a facial bone disorder. You can have different severities. There's all sorts of severe, moderate.
Yeah.
I'm quite lucky. I was born with next to no deformities. With Leland, he was born with microtia of the left ear, hair lip, soft palate, and obviously had no middle ear canal on his left-hand side, so he had to have a Baha tract fitted when he was 6 years old as well.
Okay.
Well, it's a very rare genetic condition, and when you met, you knew there was a 50% chance that it might get passed on.
Yeah.
But that didn't stop you having your lovely children.
No, of course not.
And Callum was your firstborn, with you two together, and he was born and he didn't have the condition.
No, not at all.
And Leland, you didn't know about Leland until
No.
after he was born, so all the scans all showed up absolutely clear, but on the moment he was born, you knew.
We knew, but it didn't change anything straight away.
No, why would it?
No.
And it always amazes me how cruel people can be, even initially when he was in the pram.
Yeah, he walking down the street, people used to stare,
And say how
things.
ugly he was.
Into the pram?
Yeah.
People are
That's just
thick, aren't
so
they? I mean, what an
wicked.
extraordinary thing to do.
To me, it didn't bother me. It just went over my head.
Yeah.
Sam took it to heart and
Yeah,
struggled with it.
Well, also because for you knew what this was like. You've already lived your life. You've already lived childhood. You know what those kids are like in the playground.
Yeah, I was the first one to take the mick out myself, so they couldn't get me. I was called rat face and things like that.
Oh.
What Leland? What's school like for you? And I know that they act very quickly if there are any issues. The school is absolutely brilliant. But what's it been like?
Good.
Difficult sometimes. Yeah. You've got broken fingers here. And why has he got broken fingers?
He was pushed over in the playground.
But it was an accident. It wasn't. It was no malice. But
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, as a family, then, because there's lots of love in your family unit is what keeps you all going. What is it that you have said then as parents to Leland to help him through all of this and to help him with those bullies in the playground?
Is ignore him. Ignore him. And if he has got a problem, go and speak to a teacher.
Yeah.
But I've always brought him up to. We take the mick out of each other, and that's how we deal with it that way. It's like with his ear. His granddad's. He's chunky. Leland's my little chunky monkey, and we call him Chunky Monkey. But what's your granddad's nickname for you?
Fat boy one ear.
Fat boy one ear, and he loves it, and that's his relationship with his granddad is brilliant with that.
Yeah.
So because he knows people can't take the mick, then because he
owns it.
He owns it. He'll go and say, "Well, that's me."
And so how do you deal with it when you're at school with anyone?
Oh, I'm down the paint now.
Does it make you sad? It does make you sad.
Yeah, some days he doesn't want to go to school.
Yeah. And so you say you can deal with that, and obviously you have quite a robust way of dealing with this between the two of you, which will shock some people, but that's the way you cope with it. It's harder for you, isn't it?
As a mum, yeah, because I see it all the time. But with Leland, obviously Andy goes to work, so I take Leland to school and pick him up, and he'll come home, a certain person, or I've been picked on today. And, you know, Leland is my little boy, and nothing will ever change Leland. It's very hard.
And half of this is ignorance, really. Ignorance of the condition, ignorance of what it's like, and all of those things. And that is why, actually, this film, Wonder, is brilliant.
Amazing.
It's amazing, and there's parts of the story which I can pick up on and I relate to, and there's parts of the story which I know Leland will relate to. He's started reading the book. He's not got far through it.
He got a bit sad last night reading it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
It upset him a little bit.
Because it recognised so much of himself in the story. Yeah.
Well, it's not out yet, although I think we're about to tell you something that we find quite interesting if you do want to see it. But you're going to go as a family and watch it.
Yeah, all of us are. Yeah.
And Leland, thank you for coming in today.
You've got your wristband, Leland.
Yeah, our Be Kind.
Only everybody was a bit more kind, right? We wouldn't even have to be sitting here having this conversation, don't you think?
It's lovely to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you
very much indeed.
Now, romance fraud costs Brits £80 million every year, and our first guest today is hoping his story will warn others.
Yeah, 70-year-old Roderick Lodge believed he had found love again after he tragically lost his wife. But what seemed like a promising new romance soon turned into a nightmare when Roderick realised his new fiancée had scammed him out of his life savings.
He's here now to share his story alongside the head of the National Trading Standards Scams team, Louise Baxter. Good morning to you both. Good morning. Good morning, Roderick. Can I start by chatting to you, first of all, about... So you lost your wife. You've been together for 25 years. Can you tell me about how this whole thing first started?
Well, I had been in the UN for over 15 years and I'd visited Kenya a lot. I've been based in Kenya from 91. And I'll be honest with you, I love the country. I love the smells, the colours. But when my wife died, I was in a situation where new horizons, I thought. So I went back to Kenya because there were lots of friends there. And I met this lady. And quite quickly we became intimate. And I thought she was going to be a part of my life. That was in 2020. And then by 2023, I'd retired the year before. And I thought that this lady was going to be a part of my life. But then she got a job in southern Sudan. And we ended up, she said, look, I've got another friend who has heard about you. And can I invite her to communicate with you? So we started chatting on Viber. And we started just a chat every day. And within 3-4 months, it was going further. And even though I hadn't met her, I started thinking of marriage. Stupid. But anyway,
It seems, I mean, in hindsight, you can hear how that sounds, but in the time, in that moment, Roderick, you felt a real connection with this person.
Totally. And because I'd retired, I could spend more time there. So in December of 23, I went, and I was staying with friends throughout the country.
This is in Kenya?
In Kenya, yeah. But to be honest with you, by the end of the April, she wouldn't come to meetings. I said, come to Nairobi. She was at the coast. And it just, I was sending more and more money for...
So the way this transpired, you had this original friend.
Yeah.
That relationship had to end for whatever reason. She connected you up with one of her friends.
Yes.
And you were just communicating via text, via email, via WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And this friend started saying, look, I'm building this house. This could be our forever home, but I need some money to try and keep it going. Could you send me some money to start improving the home?
The original lady, had told me that Anita, this lady that was created, had got a beauty business. She got 30 employees. She lived in a very nice part of Nairobi. She got 2 cars, 4x4, and sounded like a real businesswoman, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of very capable women in Kenya, to be honest. And so I started funding the development of the house. She had actually built the house, but needed the actual internal fitments. But it ended up totally, altogether, about 85,000.
That's how much you sent her?
Yeah.
Over the space of how long, Roderick?
Well, that was... I sent a few thousand to Mary to help her just with her car and such. But so with Anita, it was over a year.
Over a year, you spent £85,000.
Yeah.
At any stage, did you think, oh, maybe this isn't the right thing to do? Or did you get any warnings from anybody? How did the bank respond?
Friends of mine said, look, Rod, please, think about this, And
so they were concerned, your friends were concerned?
Yeah. But it wasn't until really the beginning of May last year that I said, enough. The last thing, to be honest, was that her dad was in hospital with cancer treatment, more money. And I said, so I got a friend of mine who lived in Mombasa to check the hospitals for me. No such person.
So you'd gone to Kenya to try and finally meet her because you'd been communicating, sending her all this money, and then she kept avoiding coming to see you in Nairobi.
Yeah.
She was some different part of the country.
Yeah.
But by the time you'd sold your house,
Yeah.
you'd gone over there,
Yeah.
you were funding your stay by staying in Airbnbs. By the time eventually it dawned on you that Anita didn't exist,
Correct.
You didn't have enough money to come home, did you?
Absolutely. I've been very lucky over my years in aviation where I have a very good core of friends. And lots of my mates, in fact, they used to work for me when I was in the UN because I used to have air ops operations. And all the guys, one particular guy, a very, very good friend of mine, a French chap, he's a 380 driver with Emirates.
Yes.
And they actually clubbed together, the group of the boys clubbed together to get me a staff ticket home.
So you've spent all your money, your life savings have gone, you've sold your house.
Yeah.
And you realise it's all gone on a scam.
Yeah.
What did you do when you came home?
I went on the streets for 2 weeks because I couldn't actually find a location that would allow me to go into the system of being, without a house. And eventually Guildford helped me because I used to live in Guildford Borough, and they helped me. And so for 2 months I was in a housing, hostel.
Yeah.
I still had to pay, but thank God I've got a few pensions, but I basically live from month to month.
And Roderick, is there anything you can do about this now? Have you pressed charges? Have you opened an investigation?
I've done that with the Kenyan police.
Right.
The problem with Kenya, seriously, is it's a great country, but unfortunately you need money to do everything.
Right.
You can't get the police to do anything without money, and I didn't have money.
Yeah.
And they actually warned me, because we actually physically know where the original lady lives.
Right.
And they told me, the police told me, said, do not go there because she could say you're intimidating her and take a case against you. Not that I've got any money to pay for her court action, but yeah.
I think your bank, one of them particularly, reached out a number of times and said, look, Roderick, we aren't sure what you're doing is the right thing to do. I just need to give you their right of reply. This is what Halifax have said. They questioned the payments you were making on multiple occasions to the legitimacy of Anita, and they gave guidance on romance scams. We spoke to Mr. Lodge on several occasions to express our concern about the payments, to ask how he knew the person claiming to be his partner was genuine. We explained the threat of romance scams specifically, but unfortunately he continued to authorise the payments. We urge people to never send money to someone they haven't met in real life and to always listen to advice or warnings about scams from their bank. I mean, in hindsight, you can hear what they're saying there, and it seems rational to us, and you've already said what an idiot you were. Why do you think, Roderick, you fell for this so...
Well, because the contact came through the First Lady, I honestly thought that couldn't be the case. You know what I mean? It's not like one of these romance scam operations from Nigeria, you know what I mean, that so many people get caught by. Because I had known...
There was a tangible person at the start of it.
Yeah, yes.
Louise, let's come to you now. These romance scams are really on the up, aren't they?
Yeah.
Cases. Who's most vulnerable?
The people that are currently reporting that they are victims of romance fraud are the 55 to 65-year-olds. That's the highest category. It's gender equivalent, so it's equal to men and women. There's a slight difference, with 52% saying it's men, 48% saying it's women. But it's massively underreported because of the blame and the shame around it and the embarrassment.
But I think we need to call it what it is. It's abuse. It's emotional abuse. So Roderick was emotionally abused. He was coerced. He was groomed. He was controlled and manipulated by somebody he thought that he was in a relationship with, and who hasn't given money to somebody that we're in a relationship with. We wouldn't think twice about it.
Yeah.
So we've got to be kinder to people that are victims of fraud and scams. Even some of the language we say, we would never say, I fell for a mugging. We say, I fell for a scam. So we're putting too much heat on people like Roderick. So you're extremely brave, as you know, that I've already talked to you about, in the fact that you've come on to talk about this. Because the only way we're going to deal with it is by driving the reporting up, which will then drive the law enforcement response up, and actually us getting a truer picture of the scale of it.
What can we do to, if you've got family members, you've got friends, and Roderick's friends were trying to say something, the bank clearly made an effort to try and get him to think carefully about this. What can we do to try and protect the people around us that we're worried about?
Come on, sorry, Louise, come on, programmes like yours.
Yeah, Roderick, we don't want them to come to this stage, though, do we? We want to stop them before that, so...
Something about, so there's a acceptance of we're in what I would call a storm of vulnerability at the moment. Right. So you've got situational vulnerability. So without telling you, but we've had this conversation, is bereavement causes situational vulnerability. Loneliness, social isolation causes that situational vulnerability. Loneliness is the equivalent on your health of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Right? So we lean into things, and then if somebody gets us in one of those periods of vulnerability or susceptibility, we get pushed into what's called a hot state, which then challenges our decision-making processes. So the best thing to do is ask someone else who's objective. What do you think about this? What do you think about these communications? And if you're that person that gets asked, deal with that person kindly and empathetically. It's not rocket science, because then it's permission to have an open conversation, which then allows people to chink away at that hot state and see the decision they might be making and actually the reality of it.
Is there anything else that individuals can do to protect themselves?
The banks. So from a banking sector perspective, if you think that somebody has been a victim of fraud or scams, or you yourself are, report it directly to your bank. There was a new system that came in October last year, where if people have authorised and pushed money away from their bank account, they should get a refund as long as they haven't been grossly negligent. So as long as the person hasn't completely ignored all of the warnings from the bank, they should get a refund. And if they're vulnerable, they should get their money back. Okay. Protect your money with your bank and then report it to Action Fraud so that, again, we can drive up that reporting and get that intelligence.
Yep.
As Louise says, go on, Roderick.
I've lost my future. I will be truthful. I was hoping for a retirement in Kenya. I've still got lots and lots of friends there, but I haven't got even enough money to get an airfare there now, you know what I mean? And I do have pensions, but it would be very difficult to go there now. Unfortunately, well, it's impossible.
Yeah. But it's very brave of you coming on and sharing, because it's not often we get men talking about being scammed, even though, as you were saying, the stats are pretty similar. Yep. Usually it's the other way around. So, you know, thank you for coming and sharing your story. And
thank you, I appreciate it.
Anybody hears what we've been talking about today and it helps them, it's going to be worth it.
Oh,
hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
Jamie Lee Arrow joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
We have to watch some really difficult things, don't we, when we're doing this show? And I have to say, this is the most difficult thing I have ever watched because of the cruelty that was involved from your father to you during your childhood. I found it really, really distressing when you were just a little girl. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So when I grew up, I had my dad and my mum, and at my dad's house, it was like stepping into a horror movie. And my dad was very unpredictable. He could go from being the kindest, funniest, most charming dad to being this monster.
He had a fascination of the devil, didn't he? He was completely obsessed. How did that manifest itself, Jamie Lee? How did he express that fascination around you as a little girl?
So he often spoke about the devil and demons and such, and he always had these paintings and stuff all over the flat. And he was an artist himself, so he liked to draw the devil and demons and really scary pictures. And he always wanted me to believe that he wanted me to turn against God and instead worship the devil from a very young age.
And right from that early age, your mum and dad were split up. You lived with your mum, but you would go and see your dad too. But he'd make you watch horror movies. He'd tell you that faces were coming out of the wall. He taught you about voodoo dolls. It was really really traumatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could lay on the bed and in the darkness, and he would go like, could you see those faces all around us on the wall and the ceiling? And I was very bullied when I was a child, and his solution to that was to give me a voodoo doll to use on my bullies. So that darkness was just so normal to me. It was my everyday life.
It's really interesting. So his girlfriend, Hella Christensen, came into your life. And I think you were really taken with her. When they first got together, it was a really lovely relationship and you were really drawn to her. She was a really lovely person. But it quite quickly turned, didn't it? How did that relationship deteriorate?
So when they first met, they were really nice to each other and I really liked her. I thought she was so beautiful and she was so funny. And she was not like the other girls he had introduced me to before. So I really started loving her, like, immediately. But they did meet at a mental institution, so they both had their problems. Right. And so that relationship turned very toxic very quickly. And they were not good for each other at all.
Your father eventually murdered her. How did you find out what had happened and that he was responsible?
So my mum actually sat me down after a long day of her being very sad and upset. And it was a very long process before she even told me. But when she sat me down, first I didn't want to hear it. I went like, no, don't tell me, Mum, I don't want to know, because I realised it was going to be something really awful and I want to protect myself. But then she went, like, ripping off a Band-Aid. She went, Helle is dead. And my first reaction to that was it Dad? And she went, yeah.
But you didn't fully understand the full brutality of the murder at that point. How old were you at that point when you first found out?
So I read the word cannibal on the newspapers, like, a few months after that. But I didn't know what cannibal meant.
Because you were about 9 years old?
Yeah. So I went and Googled it. But
so your mum protected you from the most gruesome details?
Yeah, she will not tell me that. I didn't go to school, I didn't go to shops, I didn't watch TV. Everything changed because she wanted...
To protect you?
Yeah.
But then you saw a newspaper with your father's picture and the word cannibal.
Yeah. So when I saw that, like, I froze. I didn't know what to do. Then I Googled the word cannibal, but it still didn't make sense to me. It was very hard, difficult words describing the word cannibal. But my mum went to me, please, Jamie, don't try to find out anything more because we are doing this to protect you. You don't want to find this out. So I actually didn't quite find out the whole story until my dad told me himself.
Yeah. Also, the reaction of other people. You must have been ostracised by friends and schoolmates and other people who knew the full story as well.
Yeah, so when I went back to school, like, all of my friends were acting differently towards me and everyone was asking about the murder, about my dad. People were scared of me and my dad. So it really felt like I had been robbed of my identity after the murder.
Yeah.
Interestingly, in the documentary, you talk about the fact that you remained connected to your father and you sort of went and spent a lot of time with him through your teenage years, which were very troubled years for you as well. You were drinking a lot, you were taking a lot of drugs, and yet he was the only person that wasn't judging you. And he sort of, and that relationship, you probably got closer during that time with the trauma that you were dealing with. Do you think he was drawing on that to get you close to him?
Yeah, so he knew that my mum wasn't agreeing with my drug addiction and...
Which, as a mother yourself now, you can understand,
I understand, right? Yes, definitely. Now I see everything from a whole new perspective. So my dad became the one I turned to because he was the only one that was accepting of my lifestyle. He wasn't judging me. and was treating me the same way. So it was only natural for me to become closer to him.
Because he also wasn't in a prison. He was in a psychiatric ward.
Yeah.
So you could then go and visit him, and then you actually became closer and closer again for a short period of time.
Yeah. So I didn't see him for 2 years after the murder.
Yeah.
But then I was tricked into seeing him again. And when I first saw him, he was so normal, and he didn't even mention the murder. And when I started seeing him on my own, he slowly started brainwashing me into becoming like him. And he made himself my entire universe, basically.
You eventually, within that period, suddenly your relationship broke down because there was a moment when he became quite violent and aggressive towards you.
Yeah.
And it was scary. And so in the period when in the documentary, it's 4 years since you've seen him, he actually agrees to sit down with you and be interviewed regarding the murder and what he did to Helle Christensen. What was that like for you, Jamie Lee, sitting down in front of your father and him talking so calmly about the brutality of what he'd committed?
So, because of the circumstances, it was a very special situation to be in with all of the cameras, and it was not the way I had imagined it to be when I sat down to talk to him. But it's hard, you know. I would always love my dad. I don't love what he did, but it's hard to sit there and watch someone so evil and try to talking to me and trying not to feel the love for them and trying to remind myself that this person is not good for me. This person is not. I can't have him in my life. So it was very sad for me to sit there and talk to him and to watch him being that unwell.
I think that's one of the things that comes across from the documentary is just how manipulative he was of you from a very young age. You've now got a boy and a little girl of your own.
Yeah.
Will you see him again, do you think? And would you allow them to see him?
Never. In a million years. I can't control what they do when they are grown, but as long as they are under my care, I will never, ever let them see him. I will never introduce that darkness to them.
It's an extraordinary thing, Jamie Lee, to hear you say, and it speaks to the power of a child's love for their parents, that you still love your father. You don't love what he did, but you still love your father, despite, as Kat described, the manipulation and the cruelty that he inflicted on you as a child, despite the graphic brutality of what he did, what that meant for your life, what you went through in your teenage years, that you still have that love there for the idea of who he was.
I believe it's pretty much impossible to stop loving your parents. And I know that now. He can do whatever in the world and I will keep loving him, but that doesn't mean he can be a part of my life, and that doesn't mean I agree anything that he's doing.
No.
And it's sad, and it's like I'm grieving on a live person because he might as well be dead.
I think it's indicative of the importance when you're a parent, if you have children, of just how powerful that bond is, and it needs to be nurtured and respected and loved, because that enduring love is extraordinary. We did reach out to your father for comment, but he hasn't responded. Jamie Lee, thank you for sitting down and talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It is a remarkable documentary. It's not easy to watch, but
no, it really isn't.
Your calmness and your eloquence is just phenomenal within it. You can watch Evil Lives Here. The Killer Speaks on Discovery Plus. Right. Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
These seizures, you had a job, everything was great, and then the unexplained seizures started, and you're still under the doctor now, being checked out, trying to figure out what it is that's actually causing this. And so because of that, you had schooled the kids in what to do, because there was a likelihood that they might have to act.
When I'd finished work, I had to... That was when the problem started with my legs. All the muscles started to go. It's very painful. And I knew when I'd fallen over and I couldn't feel, I was awake, I couldn't feel my waist down. At the one point, after a couple of hours, there was still nothing. So we did phone the ambulance then, and that was when it hit home that we had to start teaching them to do something because I could be there.
And even more remarkable than any of this is that, as you said, you taught your daughters what to do because they were that bit older. And although he was aware of what to do, he had his own problems, didn't he?
He has
speech problems, which at the age of sort of 2, you didn't know you thought it was a boy, maybe a bit slower in speech. Sometimes a boy's a bit slow to talk. And yet this continued throughout as he was getting older. And he has lots of speech therapy. When he starts school in September, he's going to have sort of somebody with him one-to-one to help him.
Yeah, that's what the plan is from the paediatrician, that he needs that extra support because he's that far behind.
So even more extraordinary then to pick up a phone and have dialogue with the lady on the end of the phone to explain what situation his mum was in.
Yeah. When I sit him down on the sofa and I was like, oh, this is what you do on my phone. And I did it twice and he registered it and he'd gone off to play as normal. I didn't think he had taken it in.
Surprising, isn't it, what
it
they
is,
do?
yeah.
What do you do, Ranj? What's your suggestion?
Well, it's absolutely amazing what your little boy did. It just goes to show how good kids can be at this and how much they can pick up. So I'm just going to give 5 simple tips to all parents about teaching your kids about dialing 999. First of all, go through examples of what emergencies actually are, as you did, when they need to act. Secondly, if an emergency does happen, tell them first of all to shout for help. Get another grown-up if they're around. If there isn't anybody around, that's when you dial 999. Show them how to do it. Explain that it's only to be used in an emergency. When they do dial 999, it's a good idea to teach your kids to get used to giving their name and their address to people that they trust, particularly if they were to call the emergency numbers, and follow the instructions that those people give you. And then finally, practice, practice, practice. Run through drills at home, turn it into a game, try and make it less scary for them, put instructions on the fridge, teach them how to use the emergency options on certain mobile phones as well. All of that just reinforces the message.
The thing is that thankfully, our kids are so much better now on tablets and phones and things. But you give them a phone and they'll be on a game straight away. You know, they know how to use it, and so we have a better chance nowadays of the kids really picking it up quickly.
Well, that's the beauty of technology now. We have emergency options built in, so you don't even have to know how to unlock the phone to be able to do it. So teach your kids about that. There's some great games that are available about dialing 999 in children. For example, the Red Cross have a game on their website, and that's a great resource for parents to use as well.
Oh, good. Go and look there. And you've adapted your life now. As you said, you taught him and all your children that because of your situation. You've now got an alarm fitted and an emergency button to sort of for future to prevent anything like this happening again.
Yeah, it has to be because I'm on my own now, especially when Jacob will be going to school in September. I have no one apart from my mother-in-law or my family that comes around to sees me and friends that I could be on the floor and no one knows. So
should we bring him in?
Yes, let's meet him.
Hi, Jacob.
Jacob, here he comes.
Hello.
Come see Mummy.
In you come.
Oh, you're
in you come.
You clever boy. You clever boy. And you knew you want to see the boats? The boats,
come with me. Come with me.
Go and have a look at the boats.
So go around that way. Go around that way. Yeah.
I mean, it's just incredible. I was saying, I mean, the most important thing is to make them understand about the emergency. And I think you've got to read your child, actually, because with mine, I think Belle and Chester probably would be quite good with that. Harry would have been tempted, and you don't want to teach them to do something that they might, because obviously prank calls and ringing up and ringing, that's no good.
It's all in the explanation though, and actually younger children I think understand when you must and must not do something, and there's not a particular age that you can teach a child. You teach them from whatever point they can understand what an emergency is, and so usually around the time they start school is probably a good idea.
Yeah, no, I agree. Phil, should we show Jacob our little treat we've got for him?
It's an aeroplane as well. Look, we've got everything going on out here.
Well, you know what we don't have out there?
Do you like tractors? Do you like diggers? Yeah. Yeah? Come with me. Come with me. You go round to your mum.
Come and sit round here. We've got a little treat for you,
Don't trip on that. Go round to your mum.
My mum.
Come here.
Oh, Mum.
This is exciting, isn't it?
This is very exciting.
Look, me.
Jacob, look.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That is for being such a clever boy.
What do you think?
Say?
Is that cool?
I did.
I
Yeah.
know, it's a digger. You can dig that in the garden, fill your trailer and drive off.
Are you going to drive it?
Yeah.
Let's
Jump
see.
on. Jump on. Let's see you drive.
Well done, that's it. And then put your feet on the pedal.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. That's the way.
You've got
Right,
it.
give it a pedal. I'll give you a push. Ready?
And off you go. Well done.
Here. There you go. Put your feet up. Put your feet down there on the pedals. Look there. Otherwise
That's
you'll
the
get
one.
trapped. There you go. That's it.
Sweet. And he absolutely deserves that. Thank you very much for coming in
Very
and
welcome.
telling us your story.
Thank
He's
you
a
very much for
remarkable,
asking me.
remarkable little boy.
Sorted.
Sorted.
Thanks for watching. Click here for more This Morning videos.
And welcome. It's lovely to meet you, and we'll meet the children very shortly. But this, for Logan, you thought originally, maybe this is just a phase. 18 months is very young. You thought, hey, maybe he'll just grow out of it.
But I thought that maybe because I've got a daughter, he just like Daisy's things, but it then progressed. Children go through different phases and liking different things.
But it got to the stage where it was changing his personality because he was
very
actually getting
angry.
very
even at 18 months, 2 years old, he was very angry.
If you chose to dress him as a boy or you treated him as a boy.
Yeah, and he'd isolate himself. He wouldn't play with his siblings, with other children. But yet, girls' things, he'd be like a different child, completely different child, yeah.
So you then expanded the boundaries a little bit, let him experiment more, let him play in those areas, let him dress within the house, let him dress the way he wanted, and you noticed a difference.
Yeah, a complete difference. A lot calmer, a lot happier, big smiles.
I mean, your father.
Yeah, my dad's
really forward-thinking.
Yeah, my dad is very, very supportive of Logan, and accepted him for the way he is.
Well, he said you would just let him live how he wants, see what happens.
Yeah.
And as you see his happiness flourish, then you know you're doing the right thing. It was May last year that it was quite a big moment for all of you because obviously this was just in the house, safe environment, the Alfie and the other siblings all accept and know, and it's all part of normal life in your family. But then that change where you go, OK, now you can wear a dress outside of the house. Now, this is taking him to an environment where you can't necessarily protect him from everything. So a big step for you. Not such a big step for him because you say, actually...
He doesn't care.
Doesn't notice it.
And he likes the bigger the better. So we'll go into town in a Cinderella dress and pink nail varnish and not care.
But not everybody is understanding, is accepting or forward-thinking.
No.
And you have had comments.
We've had a lot of comments, but we just try and ignore it's hard, but we try and ignore the comments and look for the positives of it.
Well, it's very, very hard for anybody, I mean, to see what you have done as a family, how understanding you are when they look at it from the outside and to know how you're dealing with it.
But as a parent, I think your child's happiness is what counts, regarding of their gender, sexuality, anything. I think what boils down to is the smile on their face and whether they're happy living that life.
And the other thing is, we're referring to Logan as him, you're saying him, we've said him. At the moment, there is no label, you haven't approached...
He corrects me.
Does he?
He corrects me quite a lot. If I call him brother, he'll say quite often no sister.
Right.
If I say boy or him, not every time, but quite often, me and other friends will get corrected if we say...
So are you sort of letting him be the guide of this, really?
Yes.
Because you haven't sort of approached any professional care as yet. I know you're part of a group and you all talk and help each other. We're going through similar situations. But you don't want to put any labels yet?
No, because
just to be
he's only 4.
Yeah.
And you can't put a label on a child at the age of 4.
Yeah.
I can't... Personally, I cannot see him ever changing.
Yeah.
But at that young age, I don't want to say, right, you're this way, this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah. Will you seek guidance, do you think, in the future? Because as Logan gets older, it will become more complex.
I will seek guidance if he's still like it in a few years' time. But I think at the minute it's best to just take it as it is, take each day as it comes, take each challenge, you know.
And school, I mean, that's another challenge you face when they're old enough to go to primary school.
Well, he's just started wearing... it's been a gradual phase. He started in September in boys' uniform, and then he went to girls' trousers with the rest of the boys' uniform. And then...
And actually, it just goes to the earlier you start these things and the more normal it is and everybody's very accepting environment, it makes no difference to any of the children. The teachers have been brilliant.
The
other
children
parents
have never questioned it in his class.
Yeah.
Let's meet both of your
Logan
your
and
twins.
Alfie.
Hiya, Alfie. Hiya, Logan.
Hello.
How are you?
I saw you on TV.
Yeah, we saw you on TV. We saw you on TV as well.
How are you?
Good.
What are you wearing today? Let me see. And who's it's Frozen.
Are you a big Frozen fan?
Are you?
Are you Anna or Elsa? Who's your favourite? Elsa?
Yep.
Yeah, she does all the magic stuff.
and how do you?
You've got Captain America on here. You know we are talking to the real Captain America.
I used to have Spider-Man.
Oh, did you?
Oh, well, Captain America is on
I
our
have
show.
Spider-Man socks.
Wow.
You have, it's all right. You can have a good look around.
Look at the
boats. Of course they can look at the boats.
Straight
That's
over
no
the back of
problem.
the
They can't come to any harm.
Thank you
very much indeed.
Thank
You have
Really
lovely
lovely
children.
To meet you. And good
Look
luck
at
with
this.
everything.
Talk about make yourself at home.
Yeah,
All right, mind the
absolutely.
telly.
Wouldn't
That's
you?
it. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Do you seriously think this doll is possessed, do you?
I wouldn't necessarily say possessed, but there is... It has got something. It's definitely got something.
You almost look like, Debbie, you don't want to even look at the doll.
No, I don't.
Are you a bit scared?
I don't even want to touch it.
Really?
Yeah.
So tell me about the doll. Do you collect dolls? Where did you get the doll from?
Actually, I hate dolls.
Oh.
Which is
And why
really...
did you buy it? As an investment?
Do you know what? I bought
Did the doll call to you and say,
We walked
buy
past
me?
a shop. It wasn't actually a charity shop. It was like one of these second-hand shops.
Antique shop.
Yeah. And
E&J
we walked
Emporium.
past and we just... I think it was you, wasn't it? And you saw them and
I just thought
said,
they
let's
looked...
just go and have a look. And for some reason, I said, let's buy them. And we
So
bought,
you say
actually, we
them,
bought
there's more than one.
3.
OK.
We bought 3. They were £5 each, and we thought, we'll buy them because they look like they're worth more than £5 each. You know, hands up, I bought them to resell.
Look, that chair's beginning to rock.
Rocking.
Look at that.
Who's doing that? Stop it. Who's doing that?
Yeah. Actually, but you separated these dolls, you brought them home, and immediately you could feel that this one... Has this one got a name?
That's not it at all.
Yeah.
No, I put them in the spare room, and then we had friends coming to stay for the weekend, so I thought I better put them up. I put 2 in our room, 1 under the bed, 1 on top of the wardrobe, and 1 of them in the drawer. But the day before our friends came is the day he woke up with scratches on him.
Right, so I'm intrigued by these scratches, Cameron. So tell me what happened. You woke up in the morning?
Well, I literally woke up in the morning. I had my shower as normal, and then I felt a burning sensation on my leg. And I looked down, and there was a lot of scratches all over my knee. There must have been a dozen or 15 or so, but they looked like cat scratches. So
well, you could have just scratched yourself in the night, couldn't you? People do that.
I've got my
He
nails.
cuts his nails to the skin.
OK.
No. Do you have a cat?
No.
Could you have scratched him?
No, that's what I said.
No,
but...
this is the thing. Where the scratches were, and we've got like a big, like extra king-size bed because we need a lot of room, basically.
Well, you don't have to explain why you have a just assume you do.
The thing is, I have scratched him with my nails on his neck.
OK, too much
and
detail.
it wakes him up.
The thing is,
didn't wake
this
up, it's the
incident was
thing.
not isolated. Other things happened.
Yeah.
And all to the point where you ended up putting Her Highness out in the garden shed, and you locked her up in a box in the garden shed. And then when you went to revisit the box in the garden shed, tell us what you saw.
That necklace that's on her was right round her neck. It was really tight, about 5 or 6 times.
And that little pearl,
Little pearl necklace. And when I went to the shed, it was practically hanging off. She was in a plastic box with a lid, with 2 other boxes on top. No one had been in the shed all weekend.
Couldn't it have just been loose, the clasp, and just fallen off?
Never mind
It's
what it
not-
could have been. The
it's-
fact is, all these things were happening.
There's no clasp.
And
it's just
is
like
this
big.
frightening you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Right, a little bit. Now, even last night, you were on neutral ground. You were in a hotel prior to this programme, and you had an experience, a happening. What happened last night?
2 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and heard like a swishing noise going around my side of the bed.
So what, like the dress?
What do you think was swishing?
Yeah, I don't know.
So you put the dog up for sale on...
Doll.
The doll. Sorry, it was my throat glove. The doll. The reason Ruth's laughing is such as Ruth believes in these things and she pretends she doesn't.
You say that all the time.
It's absolutely true.
I'm scared.
Victoria Claire Fletcher says, I'm a believer, but I think it's strange how pretty much all these reported encounters with spirits are Victorian or thereabouts. Gaynor Green says, my nana has a collection of dolls in her dining room. They're so creepy. They look as if they're just waiting to pounce. Now, you put this up for sale, right? And you put it on the web, right? And you were quite upfront because you didn't want anybody buying this unless they knew this was possessed, as you believe possessed.
I didn't list it as a haunted doll. I listed it as a creepy doll. And I didn't at any point say it was haunted. I just said what it was, and I didn't want it in my house anymore.
And so you bought it for £5?
Yeah.
How much is she on at the moment?
She's been bought and paid for £866.
Wow.
Which I'm quite embarrassed about. I just wanted to get rid of it.
But you've made 861 quid in profit.
Yeah.
On Cameron getting his leg scratched.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's not so bad.
And was the person who's bought it interested because they think it's a
he's the owner
doll
of
with
a
powers?
paranormal magazine,
Oh, right.
Ghosts of Britain or something. So, yeah, he's interested in it because of, obviously, what it is.
And what about the other 2 dolls you bought with her? Are they,
they're in my shed. I don't want them. They're on eBay at the moment as well.
They could be worth 1,600 quid.
Someone could come and... If the guy who's bought that one wants them, he can have them.
Yeah.
I
Ruthie, you don't believe this?
Well, I'm not. I don't believe in things being haunted. Like
OK,
that,
well,
so
will you
she
then
wouldn't
lift up
scare
the
me.
doll
Yes.
and nurse it on your knee? Don't do it, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, don't do it. Don't be all brave.
Nonsense.
I'm telling you, you could be bringing the spirit home with you. It's enough having one witch in the house without 2. I don't want that.
What would you do if your football-loving husband suddenly announced that he wanted to become your wife? This is after 8 years of marriage. Now, that's exactly what happened just before Christmas to our next guest. This is Arian and Cara Cohen. And they say, since then, they have never been happier. It's very good to see you both. Very good to see you both. So, Arian, you'd been married to Cara, formerly James.
Yeah.
So let's start with formerly James. For how many years?
8 years married.
8 years
and we've
married.
been together about 9 years.
Right. So very happy marriage.
Yes.
All was good. You didn't have any inkling then at all that James at that time was feeling like this, that he wanted to become a woman?
No, I always knew there was something though, didn't I?
Yeah.
I always knew there was something, and we always had an honest, open relationship, but I didn't know what it was. You didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
But there was always something there. Looking back now, being completely honest, there probably was many, many signs, but maybe we weren't ready to.
Cara, when you say you didn't know what it was, did you, and you just couldn't vocalise it, or you genuinely just thought, I just feel different, I don't know why?
Yeah, I kind of had an inkling, and I sort of knew when I tried to try and work out what it was, but it was very difficult to understand.
Yeah.
So eventually I did kind of get my head round it and...
So did it just come out, or did you say, I'm going to tell her on this specific night?
No, it kind of built up over a couple of days. It was getting harder for me to keep it a secret and to keep to myself. And, yeah, it just happened.
It was messing around with the kids, wasn't it?
Yeah,
to start with.
Yeah, talking to the kids, and they were... saying girls are better than boys, and...
And that's how it came out?
And they were saying, oh, girls are better than boys, girls are better than boys. And you went, yeah. And then they said, you want to be a girl, don't you, Daddy? And James said, Yes, I do.
Funny you should say that.
So at that point, people might be thinking, oh, you would go, ha, 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 but actually you then realise that this was the serious conversation we're then going to have.
I wasn't there. I wasn't there. You then went to the doctors, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to speak to the GP.
I didn't know about that, and then it was...
But what about speaking to Arian? That's the conversation. That's the big conversation. The woman who you married, the woman who you had children with, how was she going to take it? Indeed, how did she take this news? I mean, what you must have thought. It's like a proposal almost, isn't it? What am I going to say? How am I going to say it?
Yeah, obviously I was very nervous when it was in my head and it was going round in my head and round and round and round. I couldn't think of anything else. And eventually it just came out.
Literally blurted out.
Yeah, I didn't plan it or anything. I just had to release it.
OK, what was the reaction?
I think my exact words were, OK. What exactly does that mean? I just wanted clarification of exactly what was going on here and, you know, to think about the future, what was going to happen.
Did you think straight away about your children, your girls?
I was in shock. I was just in complete shock. I couldn't think. I just sat there and I just it's okay. It's going to be okay.
So when you said
one of the things you did, of course, was to find out if it was going to be okay. You went to the internet, you went to social media, you had a lot of sources. What did you find out there?
Do you know, I really, really wanted to find people who were going through what I was, people who could understand, but all I found was I found a lot of support out there for families of under 19s, for transgenders, but not the families of adults. And also I found from other wives of transgender people, what I found was that they were just full of bitterness, anger and hate. And I found it really sad, and I just couldn't relate to that, and it upset me reading the stories, and I really want to let people know that it doesn't have to be like that. If you're carrying all that, because if you're carrying that anger, it's not going to change anything.
Can you
it's just going to affect
that
you.
anger? I mean, we have interviewed wives
completely
before who've been through this, who say it made them feel that their marriage had maybe been a sham, or that it wasn't the marriage that they thought they had.
Yeah.
Did you feel that at any point?
Completely, yes, of course. But I had to remind myself, and I completely understand why people feel that way, don't get me wrong, but carrying around anger and bitterness, it affects you. So I had to keep reminding myself that it wasn't dishonesty against me, it was
against
not having the
yourself,
realisation.
really.
It was all this social conditioning from 35
What about
years.
the children, Cara? Your girls?
Well, they seem to be... they've noticed that I'm a lot happier, obviously, because if you're keeping a secret, it's very difficult to be happy within yourself and with others. So eventually when I did come out and I was being more honest with myself and with people, they noticed the change instantly.
So you were pursuing a career in journalism and you got pregnant, and it was a shock.
Yeah, it was totally.
How long have you guys been together?
About 3 months from the first date.
You said you were still struggling to pronounce her surname.
I'm not sure I knew her surname at that point.
So needless to say, baby arrives and both of you instantly fall in love with the gorgeous little baby Jasmine. And your views of being a mother at that point, you didn't go in thinking, I'm going to be this breastfeeding mother that's going to feed for 5 years. You actually bought formula. You took it.
Oh yeah, I thought, because I was quite a young, naive mum, I thought you needed formula milk, so I'd stocked up on formula, different food and dummies and bottles and stuff, and sterilising kits for the baby.
So no plan whatsoever. And also breastfeeding, when it came to it, was not easy. I mean, people say it's the most natural thing in the world, but a lot of mothers find it really hard, you included.
Oh yeah, they're like these little aliens, and squirming around like an octopus. So, yeah, it didn't come naturally at all, but luckily I had really good support.
You've been very open about your own mental health issues, battles with depression, anxiety and eating disorders and things like that. Did you feel that breastfeeding grounded you a little?
Yeah, I found it wasn't the plan, but I found because I've spoken out on my blog and vlog about mental health, I actually found that breastfeeding really anchored me.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time I can kind of zone out and I'll be in my own little episode and whatnot. But when I'm feeding my baby or now my children, it actually anchors me a lot more and I can have some quality time with them and focus on them.
How old are the girls now, and how much feeding do you do?
So I've got a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and the 2-year-old probably feeds kind of 8 to 10 times a day and night, and then Jasmine just feeds on a night time to get to sleep mainly.
OK, and so the way this affects you as a couple, which is where we've sort of started this conversation, is that because you are feeding through the night, you're in separate bedrooms.
Yeah, I think you quite like it because you get your own bed, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, we have a bedroom, and it depends on the girls, really. Sometimes they'll go down quite easily, and, you know, for example, if Sophie's not there and I'm at home alone, they go to sleep fine without breast milk. Obviously, I'm not feeding them.
No. So they are OK. So
You'd definitely be on for an interview then.
So they're not totally reliant on you to go to sleep. It's not like it's a crutch that they need, because when you're there on your own, they are perfectly fine.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And do they sleep through the night when she's not there? Do they go through and not wake up?
Yeah, no, they're absolutely fine. They're absolutely fine. It's just, I think it's more by association now.
Right.
That this, whenever Sophie's with them, it's almost like they're drawn to them.
Yeah.
So are you doing this for them, or are you doing this for you?
It's definitely for them. Like, at the moment, I get so tired because I'm doing all my work with my blog and vlog and then also feeding them. It's like today, I just wanted to have a bit of time, you know, to prepare and come in here. But instead, Ariana's grabbing at my top and whatnot. So a lot of people have said online especially, oh, you're doing it for yourself. But I think as all breastfeeding mothers and mothers formula feeding know, that we're just doing what's best for our babies and kids, and we just go along with whatever.
But I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's 5 years old, and there is something that, you know, it happens in people's heads, and you think 5 years old, you know, school.
Yeah.
How does this fit in? And at what point do you think, OK, that's fine, now's the time to wean?
Well, I think from the start of my breastfeeding journey, everyone's saying, when are you going to stop, when you're going to stop? But the more I've read up on it and the more I've researched it, biologically, as mammals, we feed from 1 to 7 years old until they get their molar teeth, and that's when they can't latch on. So I actually think it's more bizarre that we drink cow's milk, calf's breast milk as adults than it is that my child
It's definitely
feeds.
what we're used to, isn't it? And particularly in this country as well. I mean, you don't need to go that far to look at other countries around the world, and it's perfectly normal. And in fact, this item in itself would seem ridiculous that we'd be just talking about breastfeeding, really.
Yeah, well, I've got family in Southeast Asia, and when we went last Christmas and I was openly feeding them both, it was like, hallelujah, and everyone just came up to you and it was a celebration. It was like really like,
do you wish it was like that here?
Yeah, I don't need everyone coming up to me.
No, understandable, but not to be judged, I guess.
Well, yeah, just because I think sometimes we just accept the societal norm, and actually, like, I've not done this to make a point. I've just gone in my private life what's needed for my children.
Yeah.
And what about you, Chris? Then you've seen the criticism, you've seen the reaction. It does hurt, doesn't it?
I mean, my take on it is, I feel sorry for mothers. Whatever choice they make, they're judged. So whether you choose to breastfeed or even not to breastfeed from birth or to whatever age, you're judged either way, and it's almost like a battle you can't win. I mean, my perspective is you do what's right for your family and whatever's right for your kids and for everyone involved. And you know, as you guys know, you know, you do what's best for the people that you care about, and it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks.
Yeah.
It's not important as long as everybody in that circle's happy and you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Now, when an 8-year-old Amber Owen was taken on a holiday of a lifetime to Thailand back in 2004, she had no idea that she would be caught up in one of the deadliest natural disasters the world has ever known.
And on the beaches of Phuket, when the tsunami hit, Amber owes her life to a very unlikely hero. And she joins us now to tell us more. And this really is an incredible story. And you were 8 years old at the time. This is a once-in-a-lifetime holiday for you and your family. You're staying at the Sheraton Hotel right on the beach. And the Sheraton Hotel had 2 very special residents, which, as an 8-year-old girl, you fell in love with. Who were they?
Ning Nong and Yum Yum were the elephants' names. Especially Ning Nong, though.
And you had a very special bond, didn't you,
Yeah,
two?
definitely.
And a reciprocated bond as well. This wasn't just a child that fell in love with an elephant. Out of all the children that were there, gave special attention to you.
No, yeah, he'd always, like, grab my hand and pick me out of all the rest.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so what was the morning routine? What would you do?
Well, they'd come into the hotel but we'd eat breakfast and we'd always play with them. All the children would play with the elephants. So we'd, like, feed them bananas, ride them, just generally play with them. And then we'd go onto the beach. Some days we'd go into the sea, ride them down the beach.
So this was not out of the ordinary on this day, on Boxing Day on 2004. And, of course, we know what happened on that day. But on that morning, you went out, regular routine, to go and feed the elephants and go for a walk on the beach.
Yeah, so that morning we just went down the same, like nothing changed, exactly the same.
And what happened? What was looking back on it now, the first moment, actually, that something could be wrong came from the elephant?
Yeah, so I was riding the elephant on the beach, just as normal, and the sea was really far back, and the mahout was there as well. He was collecting all the fish that got left behind.
So he's like a trainer, the elephant trainer, the mahout, yeah.
He was all the fish were left behind on the sand, so he was picking up all the fish. And then the elephant, Ning Nong, had an instinct to kind of go off the beach.
Because he was trying to bring him back, wasn't he? He was sort of like, bring him back, and the elephant just wanted to go.
Yeah, he
just did not want to be there.
Yeah, kept pulling away to walk off the beach.
And you believe that is an instinct that in some way, and we'll never know why or if it was true or what actually happened, but you believe that he knew something.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know how, but just the way he was pulling away to get off the beach.
So what happened next?
The water just came flooding in. At the time, I didn't know what tsunami was because I was only 8. But the water just came flooding in, and the elephant ran off the beach, and the mahout was running as well. And then it took me to high safety. So I got up a high kind of stage where I got put, and the elephant had to run off the higher land. But then I found my mum.
So you'd felt the quake, hadn't you?
Yeah, we felt the earthquake in the morning, but we just didn't think anything of it.
And so the elephant, with the water rising and right up high, terrifying, and you can see other people suffering around you.
I know.
The elephant got you to a wall.
It was it was like a high safety where I could stand on the top, where it was higher than the water.
So you were on the elephant's back, and then you could climb off the elephant's back onto the concrete wall.
That's it.
So that the elephant took you to somewhere that you could be safe.
Yeah.
Wow. Which is the incredible part of the story, because after that, there were 3 waves that day.
Yes, that's right.
And the first wave, the one that you were caught up in, and then the water went down a little bit. It didn't recede as it had before, but went down. And then the first of the huge waves came in, and by which stage your mum had rushed down, seen you at the end of the beach, and managed to get you to safety.
Yeah.
Where did you go? You went back into the hotel?
Yeah, the hotel, everyone had to go into the hotel lobby to be registered and make sure everyone was safe, because it was the safest part.
And then the next wave came.
Yeah.
You were higher up.
We were up high, yeah.
And so you could see it all happening outside your window.
Yeah, I didn't get to see any of it because they wanted me to be protected from it.
Yeah, quite right
yes,
too.
I'm not
quite
surprised.
right too.
I'm not surprised. So you were there for a few days, and then eventually you were able to fly home, and then sort of it sinks in what happens. And your mum, she believes that you're here because of this elephant, and she continues to show her gratitude by giving money to the sanctuary, doesn't she?
Yeah, she gives money to the elephant owners.
Do you have any idea what happened to the elephant?
I've always tried to look up online and find out where he is. I know he's still alive.
He is still alive?
He's definitely still alive?
Still alive.
You're sure about that?
Wow.
Yeah, because I've read hotel reviews and people have been elephant at the hotel.
So do you think still at that hotel?
I don't think he's there anymore. think he's gone to work now, or I'm not sure where.
So, have you ever felt that you wanted to find him and go and see him again?
I've always wanted to know like where he is, but I just think it's going to be so difficult to find.
Yeah, to track him down. Well, this story, your story, has inspired a Warhorse novelist to write your story as his next story, which has now become a theatre show as well.
Yeah.
So Michael Morpurgo, who wrote Warhorse, this is being seen as the sequel, he wrote the novel Running Wild in 2009, which you didn't really know was based on your story, and then now it's been turned into a theatre play, and it's based on you.
I know, it's just so amazing.
And now it's at the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre, which is a fabulous place to go and see any play. It's just beautiful, especially if you get a nice evening. That's until June the 12th. And you're going on Friday, aren't you?
Yes, I'm going to.
And you're going to meet Michael Morpurgo?
Yeah, I'm going to meet him there.
How will you feel watching that?
I just think it'll be like amazing how someone's taken such a nice story, made it into a play.
Well, out of all of that horror and the loss of so many lives, it's lovely to hear one sort of tiny positive story and that amazing effect on your life that one elephant had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you very much.
Hello, YouTube. For more of the same, just click here. And don't forget, you can subscribe for even more of these amazing videos exclusive to our channel.
And also, you know, in other cultures, they have rites of passage, which sort of celebrate your self-development. And I think in the UK, a lot of people choose not to marry or marry a lot later. And we don't really have anything to sort of celebrate that development. So I just think it's a really nice way. Also, I do think it's a bit of a statement on, you know, there's quite a stigma around being single still.
You've suffered from several sort of wide-ranging mental health conditions, and the first one happened when you were about 16, and then this began with anorexia. So what was the trigger for that?
I would say my anorexia was a whole range of issues, really. Probably like the stress of school and everything, with exams, and then like just being around like friends who, you know, would kind of like everyone just wanted to like look slim. It was kind of like the thing at the time, and yeah, it was just really reinforcing whenever people were saying, oh, you look like you've lost a bit of weight, and then it just really went into a downward spiral where I was just always obsessing over weighing myself, and the more the scales went down, it was just like really, and then that just became my life. My whole life was stripped from me. Like, I stopped socialising. It was just, that was just it.
Well, at just the age of 17, you attempted suicide. As we said, you were sectioned for the first time. As you said, your life was beginning to fall apart. And then, so you fought through the anorexia, and then that developed into trichotillomania, which is the plucking out of hair. And then that moved into the realms of the makeup, didn't it? How did that begin to manifest itself?
Well, I struggled really bad with acne as well for like about over 10 years. So I was putting on makeup to kind of like hide from that. Yeah, a mask.
So what, I mean, what are we talking about here? Because lots of people put makeup on in the morning to make themselves look nice, but this was very extreme. So your routine, I guess, of putting on makeup, because you had to be at work by 6, so what time did you wake up?
Yeah, like literally I was up at 4, and if my like acne was even worse, like it could have been 3:45. Like, it's absolutely absurd looking back on now that I was just spending an hour and a half on my face, but that was just my routine. Like, I didn't even bat an eyelid at it. But like, it really infuriated me, like, that I was wasting all this time putting makeup on, but like, it's just what I felt I had to do.
Very
like,
heavy fake tan as well.
Yeah, if tanorexia is a thing, like, I had that because.
And also, it got to the point where you weren't even taking it off. Then it wasn't making a difference to your skin whether or not you take your makeup on, take makeup off, or leave it on. So you were sleeping in your makeup, sort of sometimes patching it up a little bit the next day.
Yeah. Because it was a whole big regime to take it off as well, and like putting creams on, and like, just honestly, like, it was such a waste of all that time, you know. And I felt so unworthy and disgusting without it. Like, I would have avoided mirrors without makeup on.
And
like,
your boyfriend at the time, he didn't see you without makeup on?
No. Like, well, if he did, like, I would have been like literally hiding my face. Like, it's so embarrassing to think of, you know.
And for you personally as well, at this time, your depression peaked around this time, and again you attempted to take your own life, and you asked to be sectioned the first time, which you did, and you were released from that, and the treatment, the combination of sort of being at home, and it wasn't working. It just wasn't working. It was getting a lot worse for you, and it was the third attempt at your own life 4 months later that you were then sectioned again, this time against your will, but you needed to. And this was the big turnaround point for you, wasn't it? So what happened that time that was different?
Well, after being released, because I was only in hospital then in November last year for 2 weeks, and I didn't, like, I was sectioned because, like, I knew it wasn't the right place for me. I was going into a mixed ward. Like, I hadn't left the house in, you know, months. I didn't want to be around people. Like, I knew, like, I needed to be, like, away and, like, to get myself better. So, like, I was finally released and, yeah, able to, like, work on myself. And, like, then, so, like, I started blogging, like, in March this year when I finally, like, felt, like, ready, like, to go out and face the world again. And, like, I literally did, like, hide away for months. Like, I couldn't speak to anyone.
What got you there then? Is it a light bulb moment? Was it a slow burn where you began to feel comfortable in your own skin and confident with yourself?
Yeah, I suppose because, like, I wasn't, like, going out. Like, I just wasn't putting makeup on then, and, like, working on me and, like, figuring out who I was, what I wanted to do with my life. I just sort of felt, like, more value. I knew who I was, like, finally. Like, I had, like, a purpose and, like, with blogging and everything, like, I felt like I just had this purpose. Yeah, like, I just never knew who I was. Like, the thought of someone asking me, who are you, what do you want to do with your life? Like, I literally would have had heart palpitations. You know, yeah, I think it's a thing a lot of people struggle with, you know.
There isn't a diagnosis for a makeup addiction because that forms a much bigger picture, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You said trichotillomania, so hair pulling, for people who don't know. That actually falls into the OCD spectrum. Body dysmorphic disorder, again, kind of a subcategory of OCD. So not classic, but nonetheless has lots of similarities.
Yeah.
I imagine when you were talking then that you suffered from really high anxiety as well, just the way you were describing it. So even though we couldn't say that she had an absolute diagnosis in one area, you fall into several categories, don't you? From eating disorders to high anxiety, OCD, BDD, all of those areas. The most important thing, Philip, is what you noted then, which is that idea of purpose, finding a place where you could have the cathartic experience. Because we talked earlier on, so I was really excited and interested to listen to your recovery, and one of the things you were talking about actually was the fact that you didn't really get any therapy. You actually had to do all the work yourself. So to some degree, it's incredible that you've managed to be free of your eating disorder and all these other associated disorders for quite a long time. What would you say has been the major thing that's changed that direction for you? Because for me, that's what's really compelling about your story.
Yeah, I suppose I've always been, like, very self-motivated, but, like, well, gratitude, I'd say, like, I just started writing, like, down, like, 3 things every day that was, like, positive, and, like, making a gratitude journal, and just, like, really, yeah, like, just focusing on the positive. Like, I always say, like, positive mental attitude will get you everywhere.
Before George, there'd been, I think, 8 failed rounds. 9 failed rounds of IVF. And that's about £45,000 of your savings. What was life like during that time?
Just really hard. I just didn't have any holidays. Didn't have to sell a car to have IVF. Just really, 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 really tough.
You I remember desperate to be a mum, weren't you?
Oh yeah. Just all my friends knew how desperate I was. Just constantly wanted to have a baby.
Yeah, and so obviously, like Phil said, £45,000 money that you didn't have. You ended up going on Deal or No Deal to try to win some money to put it into the pot.
Yeah, it was in 2008, and we went on to get some money for IVF. And that's when George watched our show because he was a big fan of Deal or No Deal. Rang in the next day when it had been aired to say that he wanted to donate some money to us, but I didn't know anything about it. I knew the next day.
This was really high up, wasn't it, at the channel, so nobody below knew who it was.
So when I got the call, I asked because I wanted to know who it was, and they just said we can't tell you, but you can if you want to write a letter to say thank you, then you can, and that's what I did. I wrote a letter. Didn't think I was writing a letter to George Michael at the time.
No, exactly. Goodness me. So the money that you got from him. them enabled you to have another round of IVF, but more importantly, enabled you to have lots of tests done.
Yeah, because when I was having some treatment at the time, they said that I might have immune problems, so I might not be able to carry a child anyway, and my body might be killing the embryos off, because I had 9 lots of IVF and never actually got pregnant.
And it did prove that,
yes,
didn't
I'd
it?
got some immune problems, so that on my next lot of IVF, which would have been March this year, we was looking to have another treatment in March this year, we would have used the test that I paid with George Michael's money to have my next round of IVF.
Right.
Well, it's an immense strain on any relationship, something like that, and so you're not with that partner anymore, and then along comes your childhood friend Nathan.
Yeah.
And begin to think, right, okay, well, it would be nice. It would be nice if we could do it. And what happened then?
We just had IVF in August last year, and it failed. So we didn't tell anybody. But like I said, we just had treatment, and then obviously I fell pregnant at Christmas completely naturally.
And completely naturally. I mean, to the shock of all the doctors and anyone that had given you any treatment.
Yeah, I went to the doctor. I didn't take a test until I was 8 weeks pregnant, because I was so scared of actually seeing. And if I'd have bought a pregnancy test, half of me would have been thinking, I'm actually pregnant here.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do. A friend of mine had said, I think you're pregnant, you need to take a test.
Well, you think you're over the worst of it, though, and actually the pregnancy was stressful, and you had a condition that added complications, didn't it?
Yes, I've got 2 uterus. It's called uterus diadelphys, where you've got double womb, double cervix, double vagina.
Right, which you didn't realise, which
I didn't
may have been
realise.
part of the issue in the first place also.
Yeah, I didn't realise until I'd had 3 lots of IVF, and then my consultant found it. So I had a little operation done in September of 2015. But when I actually got pregnant, I was so scared, because Seth was growing in my left uterus, which is only half a uterus.
Oh, gosh.
So I had, I was under the impression that I was probably going to have a miscarriage early on, and definitely later on I was...
As they said, you know, you're really not entirely sure that this is going to work.
Yeah, well, the consultants had said to me that I might only carry to 28, 32 week, but I actually carried to 39 week, and I actually got induced as well.
Oh, my gosh.
When you got in the taxi, having been told, we don't think this is going to happen for you, what was playing on the radio in the taxi?
Well, what had happened was I was about 16 weeks pregnant at the time, and we had gone to the hospital because I had a bit of a scare, and I'd started to spot, and I thought, oh God, I'm gonna lose this baby. And all my friends have said since he's been born as well, gosh, I can't believe he's here. We actually thought you were going to lose him. We didn't think you'd get to the end of your pregnancy. And then we got in the car and turned the radio on, and I was really upset. The doctor had just said to me, everything's fine, and they thought I was spotting from my other uterus, because they thought that my uterus was confused because there's a baby in one and
the
nothing
other side,
in the other.
yeah.
So my body knows I'm pregnant, but there's no baby in this uterus.
Yeah.
So we got in the car after the consultant said everything's fine, put the radio on, and George Michael was on the radio, literally playing as we turned the radio up, and it was got our face.
And this is Seth George Hunt. Who arrived on the 3rd of September.
Oh, my goodness me. Hello, welcome, welcome. Nice to meet you too.
Hi, Nathan.
But, oh, my goodness me, look at him. Oh, he's so tiny. How much did he weigh when he was born?
He was 7'10".
Good size.
And because I'm breastfeeding, he dropped to 7'1".
Yeah.
And then he's just picked back up to 7'13", so he's just above his birth weight.
Well done, you.
How did you find out, finally, that it was George?
It was Richard Osman that tweeted something on his Twitter account that he'd given money to, and it was Christmas Day when he tweeted it, and then he'd given money to a lady who'd been on Deal on it. All right. And then I had reporters literally just at my house the next day.
And can you believe he's here when you hold him now?
No, it's I watch Friends, don't I? And I watch Friends holding him, and I think, oh, he's lovely, and then I think, and they pass him back to me, and I think, oh, he's mine.
You've waited a long time for him, and he's gorgeous. Well done, both of you.
What a miracle.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
He's looking for food.
I know.
I know what you've got.
So lovely to
Oh,
meet
he's
you all.
adorable. Gorgeous, gorgeous.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done, well done.
Despite paying thousands of pounds in fees, her mother was left shaken and bruised, prompting an investigation into her care. Teresa joins us now alongside former care worker turned campaigner Eileen Chubb, and welcome both of you. So your mum suffers from vascular dementia, and it was beginning to affect your health, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so you were advised to put her into a home.
Yeah.
How did you find it? How did you pick it?
Okay, well, my daughters and I got together as a family, and we thought, the professionals have told us that Mum really needs a home now, that I'm not trained for this, I can't do that. So we got onto social services, who gave us a number of some care homes. So we called them and went to look round probably about 5 homes. But this particular one we really liked. We thought it was big, airy, spacious for my mum, because although she has dementia, she's very physical. She's still physical, and she's quite sprightly. So she needed space to walk around and be able to go into the gardens and know that she's safe.
Well,
So
it sounds like you did, as a family, all the right things that you could possibly have done. And it wasn't long, because it was in the June that you got recommended to put her into care. And then it was only in the September that this first incident occurred. So what happened?
Okay, I was called on a Wednesday morning to say that an incident had happened.
This is the care home manager that called?
Yes, the care home manager called me to say an incident had happened, but very light-hearted. She was laughing, joking, saying, don't worry about it, but Mum's got some slight bruising. We had to shower her because she needed a shower. And I did think, well, as much as my mum's got this terrible dementia, hygiene wasn't an issue with my mum. It's something she's very proud of.
Yeah.
And can do herself, but with encouragement and help, like with you there, in case she doesn't fall, but not to physically shower her.
So this is, as you say, a light-hearted phone call. You then go in and see your mum, and what confronts you, and what story are you told?
Okay, so I thought it was strange, as I just said. So Thursday morning, I went straight to the home as early as I could get there, to hear some awful noises in my mum's room, thinking, oh my goodness, who's in there? I opened the door and it was just my mum walking up and down, crying, looking absolutely like 100 years old, absolutely distraught, a great big jumper all over her. And I said, she just like went into my arms and I held her tight, and she lifted up her jumper, and then I saw all those bruises.
I mean, they are not...
And that's not light-hearted.
No.
To joke about that was
a real shock.
A real shock.
And there was a real kind of discrepancy in what had actually happened, wasn't there? Because your mum was saying one thing, and the care home was saying, oh, she needed to get in the shower, and your mum was saying that wasn't what happened at all.
No, and the manager told me a completely different story that I didn't think rung true to what my mum would do. And I asked a few other carers that I trust in there that I knew would tell me if Mum had done what they had said, and they said absolutely not. They had not seen my mum do any of that. They couldn't understand why she needed a shower, and that's still what I don't understand till this day, why she actually physically needed a shower when she's a clean lady.
Yeah.
And then there was another incident on the 5th of October.
Yes.
What happened then?
I went to the home on the Thursday morning to find my mum again, very distressed in her room in another big jumper. She was crying. I asked her what was wrong, and she said, oh, I went out yesterday on my own, and I went to the bus stop and somebody dragged me off the bus because they wouldn't let me get on the bus. So I was thinking, oh, you know, okay. So I said, well, you know, take your jumper off, it's so hot. And she's like, no, no, no. So finally, and then she lifted up her left arm to find it all bruising again.
And
so
this time the home hadn't told you anything, had they? They hadn't even rung you to say there'd been a light incident?
Absolutely not. So I called in a carer and I said, could somebody explain how this bruising has occurred on my mum's arms? And everybody was like, no, we haven't even seen them. So I'm like, well, you got my mum up this morning for breakfast to help her get dressed, and you've not seen these bruises? And they're like, no, we haven't seen them.
Well, their statement, the care home statement, which we can't name because this is all part of a police investigation. The allegations relating to the 2 incidents of bruising are currently being investigated by the police, and at this time of the statement, they've yet to reach a conclusion of their investigation. Care home is well-regarded care facility with a dedicated team of staff. Whilst we regret this isolated incident, the senior management team have been in touch with the family on a weekly basis, and the manager will remain on leave from her duties until the investigation is complete. We continue to offer the resident care and support to ensure the best outcomes for her current and future care. In a reply to the second incident, the resident was not discovered outside in the street. She was seen to have followed visitors out of the building, which staff observed. We joined the resident for a short walk and brought her back to the home.
No, she wasn't your birth mother. You were adopted, weren't you?
Yes.
And this from a teenage mum who couldn't keep you.
Yeah.
So Barbara was your adoptive mother. When did this abuse start? I mean, was she unkind and cruel from the very beginning? Can you remember when it started?
I would imagine, well, there were pictures of me as a baby. She loved babies. But once she stopped being a baby, it was kind of different. And there were no more photographs, really, from then on. Not many at all. There were lots of baby pictures. I remember how I felt, and I remember how I felt as a child, because you only know what you know. If you're in a situation as a young person where all you have known is cruelty and abuse. And it's not constant. She didn't wake up every day and do this. This was just a sort of mood of the house that we were in. And
when you say we, how many children?
There was another boy called William who was also fostered and adopted. But what's really interesting about this is that when I was literally taken from the arms of my birth mother, who was 15, the social worker promised her that I was going to a loving family who desperately wanted a little girl. But the family I'd gone to was already under the spotlight for the abuse and neglect and cruelty of William, another child. So
you were put into
I was put in a dangerous situation from the off.
So what kind of things? We talked there about bathing you in ice. What about feeding you, generally looking after you?
Well, it was erratic. Also, it's important to say that she was ill. She was mentally ill, and she was self-medicating. I think the drugs at the time for housewives were Librium and Valium, and she would literally take handfuls when she needed to. She wasn't a sort of steady...
You didn't know that. I mean, as a child, you don't know that. You just think, why were they being so cruel? What have I done? Children often blame themselves. Tell us about, like, your nighttime routine, going to bed.
Oh, that was awful. We were strapped into... She was always strapping us into buggies. We were always restrained. And at night time, she would use these sort of quite wide cotton or straps to strap us into the bed. I would hear William being strapped in, and then I knew that he was always strapped in. And then...
And you weren't allowed to get up to go to the loo?
No.
So did you wet the bed?
Yes, it was her idea of training us that we had to go to the loo before we went to bed so we didn't get up again.
So if you wet the bed, what happened?
We just lie in it.
Oh, it's awful.
It was cold as well.
You say it in the book as well, that sometimes it wasn't being hit that was so scary. It was like waiting. It was the waiting.
Yeah, what was the mood going to be?
It was like, I tried to describe it once. It was like, you know, if you've been for a walk in the woods and you get a bit lost and it's that twilight feeling when it's going to get, how do I get home? It was like that all the time. You were tense, and I used to read her face very, very carefully to see if she was going to go, because if she went, it was her face would change and her eyes would change, and then you knew that something might not happen.
Yeah, but it's the
anticipation.
You know, obviously, eventually you did leave. You married yourself, happy marriage, 2 children. When did she come back into your life, and when did you decide, I need to look after her now?
She never left my life, and this is a lot of people find this hard to believe. I left at 15. I had to go. It wasn't safe. It was wrong. I had to leave. But you're always looking for their approval. You're constantly seeking their acceptance. I wanted her to like me, so I would work quite hard at playing this role of a good daughter, I would invent the life. Oh, everything's fine, you know. I'm all happy. And how are you? And try and have regular contact. And I'd go and visit her quite a lot. And I'd always drive home crying because it was always quite negative.
You moved her to be nearer you,
Yeah.
and you cared for her right up until her death. Did you ever get that approval? Did she ever say anything kind to you?
Did she ever say, I love you?
No. She never touched me either as a child. And it was interesting. When my son was little, he used to come with me to visit her because she lived a few roads away. And I was cuddling him. And she said to me, "You will ruin that child." And that was her mentality.
But then you discovered that she had been abused by her own father and had become pregnant by him. So, I mean, she'd had a terrible, terrible childhood. And that's when you said, I understood rather than forgave her.
I realised that being angry and being resentful is a complete waste of time. It does you no good whatsoever. And actually, to give her some unconditional love, I realised that she'd never had it herself. So if I could just be there for her and do right by her, I could help her end her life.
Right, you're in a happy place now, though.
Yeah.
You've got your sons, you've got your book out.
Louise Allinson said you've got your book, Thrown Away Child. Has that been difficult to relive that, and has it helped you, just briefly?
My keyboard was soaking from my tears as I was trying to type up what happened. But yes, it's been good. It's made it definite. It's clarity and it's gone.
Yeah.
And I think you need to do that. You can't carry this huge stuff around with you. You have to let it go. So it's done that, which is good.
Is coming up to 10:20. Bonfire night is approaching. Many of us will, of course, be enjoying firework displays up and down the country.
But thousands of people go to A&E with firework-related injuries each year. Fireworks can pose a real risk to life when they aren't used properly.
Now, our next guest knows only too well about this after his elderly mum tragically died when 2 teenage boys threw a firework through her letterbox as a prank.
Alan Smith joins us now to share his story. Good morning, Alan.
Morning, Alan.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thank you very much. Can we go back to the night of the event and what happened exactly?
Yeah, so I was in bed waiting to go get up for work the next day, and I got a knock on the door from my wife, Lisa. She said, "Al, your mum's house is on fire." And I literally dashed round, phoned my brothers and sisters and my daughters, and we all met round my mum's house, literally 100, 200 yards from where we live.
Because you all basically live in the same street. Your mum's Josephine, she was 88 years old.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, we all live within a few hundred yards. My older sister, Linda, she lives slightly further away, but she dashed down and we was all at the scene that evening, yeah.
By the time you got there, Alan, how bad was the fire?
It was smoke, mainly. It was just smouldering. The fire had been burning for a good hour and a half, or smouldering for a good hour and a half before we arrived. And we wasn't really aware of any fire at the time, apart from the fire brigade trying to break the door down. I just remember that I had my key in my hand for the door and thinking, if I'd have got there 10 minutes earlier, maybe I could have opened the door rather than the fire brigade trying to smash the door in.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what had caused the fire? Let's go back to that. Because your mum didn't know the youths that put the fireworks through the letterbox. It was completely random.
Yeah, no, not at all. She had nobody had any malice against her at all.
No.
It was just 2 silly boys. I think they picked on a house that was blacked out.
Right.
And 2 silly boys just put a firework through a door. I think, to be fair, they thought they were just going to be causing mischief.
Yeah.
You know.
But mischief suddenly became tragedy.
Yeah.
She didn't have a smoke alarm, did she, as well? Which is one of the things that I'm sure you've all gone over in your heads.
Absolutely. The irony was that the last conversation I had with her, we were sitting there watching Tipping Point, ironically, and I was sorting out a house insurance just literally the day before, and my daughter Lucy said, "Gran, have you got any smoke alarms?" And I said, "No, I'll order you some on Amazon," and I was going to order them the next day. Yeah.
It's the circumstances around this, like you say, 2 lads that just wanted to cause mischief, and then it ends with the tragedy of you losing your mum through, smoke inhalation. There was some footage that was shown in the court case, which led to the 2 young men being charged with manslaughter. And it's quite disturbing, this footage, because what is apparent is that they had set about to try and cause some trouble with these fireworks. We're going to show you this footage from the shop of them buying the fireworks. It is not easy to watch, and certainly it can't be for you, Alan, but I think it's important to get some context of what is happening at this time of year with the young lads and young people who think they're just going to have a bit of fun, but how it can suddenly turn to tragedy. This is what happened.
No, I want something that's going to go firing quick. Well, this is going to go bang. I'm trying to get fireworks. I want to let some off at people. Light it and then destroy it, basically. Well, you can throw it, hold it, throw it, do your light with it. Well, ones are the good ones to let off at people. Then it's not going to do damage, but like. No one's going to do damage. I'm not going to tell you can let off at people. But these are they're going to fly off and they're going to go bang.
How do you feel watching that?
It makes me really angry.
Yeah.
It makes me really angry. The two lads that did what they did were just silly boys, but the guy in the footage here, Mark Vardy, he's got a suspended sentence for selling the fireworks. He was a grown adult, and he's 40 odd years of experience apparently selling fireworks, and yet for £8.99 that seemed to be more that's important to him than somebody's life, you know.
Sorry, Kat. Or even saying, lads.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
These are dangerous items. They're not for shooting at people or causing mischief. If I'm hearing you're going to do something like that...
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
I mean, a guy with as much experience in selling fireworks as he had, he should have done it. He was a big guy. He was my size. He could have easily have got those boys out of that shop, but he chose not to. And,
think about the consequences of something. Yeah,
and as a family, I think it's that aspect of all of this that makes us more angry, you know.
Yes.
Personally.
And the people supplying them need to take responsibility for it too. What would you like to see happen, Alan? How would you like to see the changes made?
I would like to see fireworks not be available on the high street anymore. I don't want to see a ban from fireworks. People enjoy fireworks, and I think they should be entitled to still. But you shouldn't be able to buy them so easily on the high street or in a supermarket. Maybe out-of-town shopping centres or certain outlets, specific outlets.
Specific suppliers.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. You shouldn't be able to go and buy a bag of chips, pint of milk, and a banger to go and kill somebody with.
No.
And one of the things that you've suggested as well, which is quite interesting, it would be interesting to get our viewers' thoughts on this, is a minimum spend.
Yeah, I mean, when I sorted this petition out initially, it was a bit impulsive. I was just trying to things that would stop something similar happening to somebody else at a minimum spend, so you couldn't buy individual fireworks anymore. So the idea being you could only buy display boxes, maybe, or something like that.
So minimum spend of about £50.
£50,
because
maybe.
then you know it's probably going to be a responsible adult, because £50 is a significant amount of money.
In theory, and theoretically, you're not going to be able to buy. You're not going to go out and buy £50 worth of bangers that are going to go and do damage. You're going to be buying display fireworks that you can join the family in the garden with your family.
Yeah.
That's the theory.
And then the age as well, you want to make it 21?
I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
You know, I have been talking about that, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. I changed it recently to maybe a compulsory challenge 25, so there was no doubt of anybody under 18 buying fireworks.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's sensible.
So if you appear to be under 25, you have to show some
You have to show to identify that you are over 18. That would protect retailers and customers alike.
You've set up a petition.
I have.
To try and get as many signatures. What's the plan with the petition, Alan?
Get as many signatures as possible and then take it to Parliament is the plan.
And if you get to, how many do you need to get ideally?
Ideally over 100,000, I think, you know, but the more the merrier, so hopefully we can get some signatures from today. And
how many have you got so far?
57,000, I think, at the moment, but we got most of those in the first few weeks. So,
right.
You know, hopefully we're going to more momentum.
And where can people find the petition?
It's online.
Is it change.org?
Change.org, Justice for Josephine. That's what I've set it up as. So there is a QR code and other things available.
Yeah.
But I'm on Facebook as well, Alan Smith on Facebook. So
it's not to stop people enjoying them. It's just for
No,
fireworks to be used responsibly, and also for everybody to understand just how dangerous. I mean, even things like sparklers are 20 times hotter than boiling water.
Absolutely.
So everybody's just got to be very careful with them.
Yeah.
How are you all coping now without your mum, Alan?
It's coming up to the anniversary and it's very difficult. We're all struggling. Both my sisters, my wife, my kids, you know, my dad. We all are all struggling. We're coping, but this time of year is very difficult for all of us.
I bet it is.
Yeah, it is.
Very triggering as well with everybody going out, because like you say, you don't want families to stop enjoying this time of year,
not
but
at all.
the consequence if things go wrong can be tragic.
I see people messing around with fireworks. It makes me quite angry, and try and keep a lid on that.
Yeah.
What would you like to say to anybody who's planning or anybody who's got fireworks, you know, as the parties are coming up?
I think the majority of people are safe and sensible. Just continue to be safe and sensible. Don't do anything silly, you know. Respect other people. Respect is a word that's missing from society these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
And just respect other people, you know. don't, you know, you can't have animals being terrorised and people being terrorised by these things, you know. Just respect other people. It's not difficult, is it? Not a lot to ask.
No.
Alan, thank you for coming in and
That's
telling us a little
brilliant.
bit about your mum. I'm sorry for your loss, but hopefully, like you say, if enough people sign the petition and you can gather a little bit of information and momentum, it could change some of those, the reasons that happened in the first place.
OK.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.